Welcome to the channel. Today we will explore a shocking secret of the British royal family, a truth that has been hidden for 30 years and only now at the age of 43 Prince William has discovered. According to a close source, after learning what King Charles had kept secret for decades, William was completely calm. This is not only a personal shock, but also a step that can change the foundation of the monarchy. In the end, what makes a son a successor to the throne face such a dangerous choice? Let's delve into this painful and secret story. Do you think the British royal family could keep a secret for 30 years? If you believe it, comment 1. If you think it's impossible, leave 0. Don't forget to enjoy the video and leave a sub to support the channel. I will update more shocking royal secrets. One quiet afternoon, Prince William accidentally discovered an old letter while going through the royal archives. It was a letter from Rosalia to King Charles, written shortly after Princess Diana's death. The content of the letter was an instruction to keep her last wishes secret. William was stunned to learn of the existence of his mother's diaries and tapes, something he had not known about for more than 30 years. The biggest shock was the truth did not come from the media or enemies, but from his own father. Why did Charles bury Diana's last words? And what made him so afraid that he had to cover up the truth? In the final months of her life, Diana recorded her emotions in diaries and cassette tapes, private messages to William and Harry. They contained pain apologies and warnings. Her voice, weak but sincere, echoed from the past, shaking William. He had thought he knew everything about his mother's death, but now he knew a part of the truth that had been hidden for too long. That moment left him with a difficult choice: continue to keep silent to protect the royal family, or bravely speak up to give Diana a final say. William faced his father in a closed-door meeting. The atmosphere was heavy as a storm cloud. He came not as an heir, but as a wounded son. "Why don't you trust me enough to tell you this?" he asked. There was no anger, no drama, just raw pain. Charles was reportedly taken aback by his son's candor, and he fell silent, seemingly moved on the verge of tears. Then he gave an answer that hurt William even more. "I just wanted to protect you from your mother's pain." But the answer, meant to be comforting, only made things worse. For William, this wasn't protection. It was control, a mistake that deprived him of his last chance to hear his mother's final words. The tense conversation quickly escalated into a confrontation. Voices rose, emotions spilled. William reportedly pressed, "Who else was involved in that decision?" "Just you." Charles said vaguely, "It's complicated." The room shook according to those close to him, not from the noise, but from all the things that had gone unsaid for decades. One royal aide called the moment a breaking point that had been brewing for years. Because this wasn't just about tapes or secret letters, it was about pain that had never been shared. William left the meeting, eyes red and fists clenched, not saying a word to anyone, not even Kate. That night, he took the diary and the tapes to his private study, where he stayed until dawn. The confrontation had broken something not just between him and Charles, but within William himself. The man who had stood firm as a model prince now realized that the institution he had always defended had tried to protect him from the very thing he needed most, his mother's voice. And the consequences were more than just emotional, they were transformative. For years, William believed he had done everything right. He had done his duty. He had protected the regime, he had preserved his mother's memory. But after the truth came to light, the tapes, the diaries, the betrayal, something inside him broke. Close friends say William became quiet, his public smile fading behind palace walls. He became absorbed in his own thoughts, telling Kate, "I feel like I've lost my mother all over again." The pain became vivid, as if the funeral had just happened. But this time it was accompanied by anger. William begins to ask, what is Charles really hiding, and why is he so afraid of it? As he digs deeper into the closed files, the picture of the past becomes clearer and more painful than he could have imagined. What he finds is not just information, but the naked truth. Diana speaks with painful honesty about life in the palace, about betrayal, loneliness, and the breakdown of her marriage to Charles. She holds nothing back, not even the moment she realizes Charles has never really left Camilla. She fears for her son's emotional future in a system that has never protected her. For Charles, reading those words would have been disturbing enough, but hearing them in Diana's own voice, preserved forever, would have been a ticking time bomb. So according to insiders, he made the decision not as a mourning ex-husband, but as a future king. He ordered that the tapes, the diary, and the part of Diana's will that related to them be kept secret. The reason given was that their release would further damage the royal family's image. At the time, Charles was under fire while Diana was almost revered as a saint. But in his effort to save the royal family from collapse, Charles has sacrificed something priceless: his son's truth, his healing, and his right to hear his mother's final words. Some believe that Charles feared the tapes would further alienate William and Harry, that Diana's honest words would turn them away from everything he stood for. Ironically, by keeping those words hidden for 30 years, he may have made that happen. Now William is faced with a choice: keep silent, as tradition dictates, or let the world hear his mother's words. For William, the question is no longer what happened, but what now? When he opens Diana's diary, it is not just a piece of paper. It is a box of memories. Her mother's handwriting seems to reach out from the other side of the world. Diana writes not just about public life, but also about her fear of being isolated, misunderstood, and ultimately rejected. She writes about William and Harry, about their boundless love, and the fear that the royal system will swallow them up. William once comforted his mother as a child, saying, "Don't cry, Mummy, I will be your knight." Reading those words decades later broke William. A palace aide said he spent hours in his room with the diary, then simply told Kate, "It was like hearing my mother's voice after all these years." The diary not only brought back memories, it brought clarity. Diana had always wanted her children to know the truth, not the one written in history books or press releases, but her own truth. And now that William had it, what would happen next? The palace began to panic because they knew this was no longer a family secret. As soon as news broke that William had found the tapes and diaries, the corridors of Buckingham fell silent. Then panic. Emergency meetings were called, the press team alerted. The orders were clear: control, the flow of information, call it private, confirm, nothing, deny nothing. But behind the scenes there was fear. They feared that what Diana had said would leak, that her emotional tone would overshadow years of work to rebuild the royal image. Some even suggested moving the entire archive elsewhere, but William refused. For him, this was not a relic. It was his mother's last words, and he would not let anyone erase her again. As the palace scrambled to figure out how to respond, something else began to emerge. Something they had not prepared for. Someone else had suspected it all along: Harry. As William began to piece together the truth, he could not help but wonder, did Harry know? For years, Harry had hinted at things that had never been told, had said that the royal family was more interested in control than healing. Now, William began to think perhaps his brother had always felt this way. William, overwhelmed with emotion, contacted Harry for the first time in months, the source said. The call was brief, but ended with the words, "I have something my mother left me. I need to share it with you." The possibility that Diana could reconnect her two sons after years of separation is both sad and hopeful. While the royal family fears the truth being revealed, the two sons may have the very thing that could bring them back together, Diana's voice. But not everyone in the royal family is ready for that truth to be revealed, especially one Camilla. One of the most shocking parts of the tapes is Diana's candid thoughts about Camilla. According to sources, Diana spoke brutally and honestly. She described how Charles's affair haunted her marriage. She felt betrayed, not just as a wife, but as a mother trying to protect her children from scandal. If you were Prince William and found out your father had been hiding a secret for 30 years, would you speak up or keep quiet? Comment number 2. If you would speak up, number 5. If you chose to stay silent to protect your family. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next shocking stories from the British royal family. There were 3 of us in the marriage, so it was a bit crowded, she once said. An iconic quote from the Panorama interview that many believe says it all. But the tapes go further. Diana was reportedly concerned that Camilla would end up reshaping the royal family in her own image. She worried that her memory would be erased to make way for the woman the public had rejected, and perhaps Diana was right. For since Charles's coronation and Camilla's ascension to the throne, Diana's name has been steadily disappearing from speeches, official portraits, and royal ceremonies. For William, this is deeply personal. Not only has his mother's final message been kept secret, but the woman who caused her the most pain may have benefited from her silence. Camilla's role in the royal family has long been a matter of debate, but now with Diana's words emerging from the shadows, things could change forever. And through it all, there was one person who stood by William. That person was Kate. When the storm of emotions engulfed William, Kate Middleton was there not just as a wife, but as a shield. She was his silent anchor, keeping him grounded as royal politics pulled him in every direction. And when William faced the deepest betrayal of his life, Kate was the first person he turned to. Sources say Kate sat with him for hours as he read Diana's diaries and listened to the tapes. She didn't say much. She didn't need to. Her presence was enough. She held his hand, made him tea, and quietly reminded him that he wasn't alone. But behind that calmness was a quiet anger. Kate was said to have believed the tapes should have been given to William years ago. She encouraged him to face the truth, not to shock, but to heal. But that support came at a cost. The tension between Kate and Camilla, once low-key, is now palpable. One source recalls a public appearance where Camilla said something and Kate just smiled and looked away. It was so cold, the insider said. You could feel the division. Now, with Diana's voice alive and the family divided on both sides of history, Kate and William face a choice. Keep quiet to protect tradition, or speak up and risk it all. The palace may have tried to keep the secret under wraps, but as the rumors of the letters and tapes spread, the public began to boil over. It started with a small leak. A source close to the press told the press that William had discovered hidden parts of Diana's will. Then came details of the diaries, the recordings, the emotional confrontation with Charles. And finally, the spark. Diana's voice was back. Social media exploded with the phrase, "Let Diana speak." People demanded transparency. Diana's fans, from generations old to new, flooded social media with photos, quotes, and memories of a woman they believed had been wronged. But this time, the outrage wasn't just directed at the press or past scandals, it was directed at the palace itself. Articles began to appear asking, was Charles trying to protect the royal family or himself? Was Camilla's rise built on the silence of another woman's truth? And the most painful part, William lived 30 years in the dark while someone knew the truth all that time. Public support for Prince William has surged, with many literally calling him a mama's boy. Royal experts say the royal silence only fuels suspicion. With each day that passes without a word from the palace, the specter of Diana becomes more palpable. And now, with millions calling for the tapes and the entire diary to be released, William finds himself at a crossroads. The institution he was born to lead is the one that prevented him from hearing his mother's final words. But is he willing to risk it all to honor her? Inside the palace, the mood has changed. Not just because of the tapes or the diaries, but because William is no longer grieving in silence. He is thinking, planning, and according to royal aides, seriously considering his next move. For months, William has spoken publicly about transparency, accountability, and emotional honesty, especially when it comes to raising his children. But now those words take on a whole new meaning. The future king is not just considering the throne, but himself. Some sources say he is considering releasing parts of the tapes or diaries, not to embarrass his father, but to finally get Diana to speak in her own words. Others say William wants to share them privately with Harry first, as a quiet act of reconciliation before a public storm. Either way, tensions are inevitable. Senior members of the royal family worry that the release could create a generational divide between those clinging to the past and those seeking to reshape the royal future. But for William, perhaps this is no longer about politics. This is about legacy, his mother's legacy. She was silenced. Will he let that happen again? As the public rallies behind him and the royal family prepares for a shakeup, all eyes are on the man who was the boy who walked behind Diana's coffin. He is no longer behind, he is leading. And what happens next could change everything. "30 years after her death, Princess Diana is once again the most powerful voice in the royal family. Her words, once locked in silence, now echo through halls she once distrusted. In the midst of it all, Prince William, the boy she loved most, is now the man who must decide whether her mother's truth will be heard. The royal family has survived scandal, divorce, death, and exile, but this is different. This is not an image crisis or a fleeting media shock. This is an internal confrontation, deep, quiet, and full of conflict. William is no longer the prince who obediently obeys the court, but a son facing a crossroads, continue to keep silent to protect the institution that stifled the voice of his mother, Princess Diana, or have the courage to speak up, accepting to shake the palace with truths that have been buried for decades. Deep down, he knows that what his mother has always wanted is not a settlement, but justice, for herself, for her son, and for the future of the royal family. Meanwhile, King Charles became increasingly isolated. He was caught between the pain of the past and the emerging truth. The silent walls of the palace were no longer thick enough to keep the truth from leaking out. William knew this was perhaps the hardest decision of his life, not just because it affected the throne, but because it touched the very roots of honor, family, and legacy. And so he chose to speak up, not to avenge, but to clear, not to break, but to heal. And so, after more than 30 years, the truth has finally been revealed, leaving Prince William with a deep pain and a difficult choice to continue to stay silent or to bravely speak up like his mother did. Whatever the decision, this is certainly a major turning point for the entire royal family. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to update the next developments. Effectiveness doesn't always need loud recognition or praise. On the contrary, it often exists quietly, seldom judged or criticized, whether fairly or not. In the world of royalty, effectiveness isn't measured by flowery words or grand displays. Instead, it is revealed through the heavy silence in those unseen moments of power transition. The crown is not merely a prestigious reward for leaders, it is a symbol of responsibility, perseverance, and relentless sacrifice. The stage lights may shine brilliantly, and the applause may roar loudly, but those who wear the crown must remain steadfast regardless of the spotlight or shadows. Not for the sake of applause, but because they carry the weight of a legacy, a nation, and a history spanning centuries. The burden of the crown cannot be measured by words or images. It is the continuation of enduring values and inner strength, a weight only those with true courage can bear. If you found this story interesting, leave a comment with the number 1. If not, leave a comment with the number 0. Don't forget to like, share the video, and drop your thoughts in the comments below to let us know what you think. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more exciting videos about royal stories. Now let's begin the story together. Behind the grandeur of Buckingham Palace, a quiet story unfolds. No headlines announce it, no trumpets sound. Yet there is one who always knows. Anne, the crownless princess, the silent guardian of truth and stillness. Within an old diary, its pages worn and ink faded by time, a new chapter is being written. This chapter does not begin with fireworks or royal banquets, but with a gentle, deliberate withdrawal. No one notices, yet Anne has felt it for a long time. She reads the signs, not in words, but in glances and silences. King Charles, weary from illness and drained after a long journey, made a decision few could have imagined he would step back. There was no press release, no public statement, just a handwritten letter to his sister, the one he trusted most, and a quiet conversation behind closed doors. Neither the Prime Minister nor the press secretary was involved. He alone held the moment, taking control of the next step. A silent move, yet historic. A moment not for the public, but for preparation. The coronation of William and Catherine is fast approaching, and the world remains unaware. But Anne knows. She's marked that day in her private journal with a red circle underlined twice, like a vow etched in ink, unchangeable. Because this is more than a mere transfer of the crown. It's the dawn of a new era, not born from ambition, but from quiet determination. From a stability built by resilient souls who need no spotlight to be recognized. The values Anne has always believed in are now shining clearer than ever before. The ink on the diary page was still wet. A small blot spread slowly, as if the pen itself hesitated before inscribing what Anne's heart had long known. "It has begun," she whispered, not for anyone else to hear, but for time itself. Her voice floated softly like a breeze in the quiet room, amid the silence she had come to know so well. It wasn't a declaration of joy, but a calm acknowledgement from someone ready to embrace what lay ahead. She doubted nothing of what she knew. It was simply that at last, the truth was spoken not in words, but through actions. In recent months, Anne had noticed a change in Charles. Not through complaints, But in his increasingly gaunt figure, the way his eyes lingered too long on the portrait of Queen Elizabeth, and the sudden silences that halted every conversation, Anne had grown accustomed to reading what remained unspoken. Her brother's moments of quiet reflection, sometimes only lasting a few seconds, spoke more than any speech ever could. It was in those moments that she knew the end was drawing near. Not a surrender, but a carefully considered transition, guided by love and duty. Last Thursday, she received an invitation to Clarence House. No prior notice, no ceremony. The sunlit room had 3 chairs already arranged. No aides, no media advisors, just Charles and William. Charles sat silently, statuesque in his stillness. William stood by the window, his hands clenched so tightly they turned white. No one spoke at first. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for something to be said without words. No elaborate explanations, no mention of abdication, yet everyone in that room understood perfectly. Charles looked directly into his son's eyes, his gaze no longer the steely resolve of a king, but the fragile vulnerability of a man. The crown must be placed where it can endure. He said, his voice hoarse and soft, so faint that Anne had to lean in to catch every word. That was the moment history began to shift, not with a grand spectacle, but with a small, humble phrase. A brief sentence, yet one that struck at the very heart of what royalty has always guarded: continuity. And from that instant, everything changed quietly, steadily, like tectonic plates moving beneath the solid foundation of the ancient palace. That night, Anne couldn't sleep. She sat by the window in the quiet room, her eyes fixed on the misty horizon, where dawn was slowly breaking. She felt the bells soon to ring, not to bid farewell, but to signal a silent change unfolding. She recorded everything in her journal on a page marked specially for herself, or for those sensitive enough to understand. The event at Clarence House left no trace in the public eye. No news articles, no leaked images. Yet that did not diminish its gravity. Everything was kept secret as part of tradition and art of protecting what was not yet ready to be revealed. The monarchy has the uncanny ability to mask every crack with calm composure, timely smiles, and rituals repeated without missing a beat. But Anne, as both witness and keeper of memories, cannot pretend. She feels the truth more deeply than anyone. Her journal entry ends with a question not easy to face. Since when did the boy who once chased her through the Balmoral hallways become the man about to lead an entire kingdom? It's not doubt in William she holds, but a clear recognition of that sacred moment when one era quietly closes, making way for a new chapter. The coronation has yet to come, but she already senses its breath in every silent pause. And Anne understood clearly this transition would not arrive with grand speeches. It wouldn't begin with an address to thousands, but through caution, silence, a calm before the storm. In her heart, the future had already taken shape, even though the date remained unannounced. And she knew she was moving forward with it, not as a mere observer, but as an integral part of the process, a silent guarantor of the values being passed down. A decision no one was truly ready for, yet unavoidable nonetheless. Step by step, Anne was entering a phase that neither her youth nor her experience could have fully prepared her for. The next morning, in the long corridor, Anne paused before the portrait of George VI. She stood still, her eyes searching for something within the gaze of her late father. For a moment, she felt as if she was witnessing the very past of the kingdom, a past preserved by faith, patience, and silent sacrifice. She recalled her father's figure from years ago, his hand trembling slightly as he placed the crown upon his head, yet never once stepping back. A symbol of steadfastness that needed no words. Now Charles, the eldest brother, had chosen to let it go. Not out of burden, but from a vision beyond. An act not easily understood, but as profound as the very history they were meant to carry forward. Anne, as always, was the first to grasp what no one else dared to say aloud. She returned to her room, walking silently, and opened her diary with trembling fingers. Under the faint glow of the desk lamp, the next words appeared. He is letting go. Just a few brief words, but carrying the weight of an entire reign. Charles, the brother who had devoted his life to duty, was now choosing to step back. It wasn't merely a rest. It was a relinquishing of all he had once awaited and sacrificed to achieve. Yet in the voice Anne recalled from that meeting there was no hesitation or sorrow. Only a profound stillness, a stillness born from a man who fully understood who he was and had nothing left to prove. During that meeting, William said not a single word. His silence was not born of fear or hesitation, but from profound respect. Anne understood this immediately by the way William kept his gaze fixed on his father, never interrupting, never rushing. When Charles looked toward him, William gave a simple nod, a quiet gesture that carried an unspoken pact between two generations. No promises needed, no formal rituals required. The transfer had already begun in that very moment. Anne saw it clearly in William's eyes, not the young man he once was, but the man stepping into his destiny. Even before power truly arrived, dignity had already taken shape. That morning, Buckingham Palace appeared just as usual. Servants exchanged polite greetings, guards changed shifts, and the morning news played on schedule. No one in those long corridors had any idea of what had just transpired. This was how the royal machinery operated, maintaining stability through a calm exterior, even as layers of change quietly unfolded within. Anne walked slowly down the hallways, her heart heavy with contemplation. She knew time was running short. The news could not leak in the wrong way. Yet she also understood that the announcement could not be rushed. The date had to be chosen carefully, the day when history would mark a true turning point. At the end of the corridor, Anne paused and turned back, her gaze resting on the gallery of royal portraits. In the quiet stillness, she whispered a simple phrase: "It must be the right day." Because this was more than just an event. It was a turning point for the fate of a nation. Power, when passed on, is not merely a ceremony, it is the transfer of spirit, responsibility, and burden. The sunlight streaming through the chapel's stained glass that morning was unlike any other day. It cast light upon the ancient stones as if to emphasize the solemnity of the moment to come. And Anne knew that here, away from noise and public eyes, was where the true beginning lay. Deep within the palace, the small chapel, usually reserved for quiet moments of prayer, had become a space for a historic decision. Anne did not come seeking guidance. She came to confirm what she already knew in her heart. The decision had been made. Charles had stepped back and William would be the successor. But Anne also understood that power was not handed over in a single moment. It was transferred through perseverance, layers of ritual and silent consensus. Bathed in the soft light filtering through stained glass, Anne sat down in the third pew and opened her notebook. She knew clearly her next duty was no longer just to preserve tradition, but to ensure continuity not through power, but through deep understanding. The chosen date couldn't be just a convenient pick. It had to carry layers of meaning. It had to evoke trust. The night before, Anne paced her study, surrounded by old calendars, royal archives, national holidays, and her own faded notes from the past. So many moments had tried to reshape the monarchy, yet very few truly rekindled faith in it. Anne understood that this time it wasn't about grandeur or spectacle. What was needed was a return to the most fundamental truth, a realm that knows how to listen. She reminded herself that this was one of the rare moments when restoration took precedence, not power or symbolism. The people no longer needed grandeur. They needed something to believe in: a steady hand, a sincere heart. She picked out 3 dates and jotted them in the margins of her notebook. Each day carried its own significance: the Queen Mother's birthday, another coinciding with Elizabeth's first Commonwealth tour. But the date underlined twice was not one of triumph. It was the day Catherine walked alone into a nursing home facing the skeptical eyes of the public. That day, Catherine had no sponsor, no friendly press, no scripted moments. Yet she stayed for hours listening, sharing, and simply being present as a real person. Anne thought this was Catherine's true coronation, a day without a crown but full of responsibility and humanity. She marked that date not with bold strokes, but with all her trust. It's not who wears the crown that truly matters, but who dares to carry it when no one is watching. Catherine had proven that long before anyone placed the crown on her head. And now Anne had made her decision. The day was set. She held that decision in silence, as if guarding a secret nestled warmly and vividly in the palm of her hand. When she stepped out of the chapel the next morning, Anne didn't look back. She didn't need any further confirmation. Everything was clear, marked in red ink on the page, reflected in the calmness of her own eyes. The world remained unaware. Official announcements would take weeks, but the future had already taken its first steps. The layers of ceremony would follow: meetings, statements, rehearsals. Yet the most momentous moment didn't unfold in public. It happened in the shadows, in a quiet room where 2 people understood each other without words. Anne stepped into Charles's study. The door was ajar, as if even it was too weary to keep everything sealed tight. Charles sat with his back to the door, his silhouette reflected on the rain-streaked glass. No crown, no ceremony, no uniform, just a man lost in thought, needing no further proof. "Strange, isn't it?" he said softly without turning around. "The moment when all pretense stops becomes eternal." Anne didn't answer immediately. She sat down opposite him, letting silence fill the room, not to ease emotions, but to remember the truth. They had both known this for a long time. In that moment, Anne no longer saw the king before her. She saw the brother who once held her hand at their father's funeral, the boyish eyes of long ago now marked by decades of burden. Not a man who had fallen, but one who was finally ready to let go. Not out of fear, but with the quiet peace of someone who knows exactly who he is. Anne gently placed the notebook on the table, flipping it open to the page where the date was marked in red. She tapped it softly, a silent affirmation. Charles looked down. His fingers brushed over the ink as if retracing memories rather than simply reading a decision. A moment later, he nodded. No grand words, no need for persuasion. It was the nod of a man who had worn the armor nearly all his life and now finally was ready to set it down. He looked up, his voice calm, almost like he was making conversation after afternoon tea. Today is a good day. No farewells were needed, no ceremonial ending. because from this moment on, a new reign had quietly begun, not with fanfare, but with the quiet agreement of steady, resolute hearts. If you found this story compelling and want to keep exploring, don't forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming content. Now, let's continue the story together. She was ready. Anne didn't need anyone to tell her that. Both of them had already prepared themselves to step into a new chapter. As Anne rose to leave the room, Charles broke the silence with a quiet, almost childlike question. "Do you think it's enough?" It wasn't the question of a king, but of a man wondering if letting go could truly open the door to something better. Anne paused, not answering right away. She walked over to the bookshelf, letting her fingers glide across the spines of volumes their mother had once treasured. Then she turned back to him and said gently, "It already is, because this is your choice, not history's or pressure's." That evening, Anne didn't write anything in her journal, because some moments can't and don't need to be written. They become something deeper, a part of who you are. Standing in the corridor outside Charles's study, Anne felt the shift not within the grand walls of the palace, but within herself. The past had just bowed one final time, gently and with grace. It was the quiet farewell of a king. The hallways, once filled with familiar bustle, now carried a hush, as if holding its breath for something still unspoken, a change quietly unfolding. Anne sensed it in every step, every glance. Royal staff paused slightly when passing William. Catherine walked with calm purpose, her presence steady and deeply rooted in responsibility. Something was shifting, not on the surface, but deep within the collective awareness. The crown had not yet been placed, but it was already settling into its rightful place within their hearts. All that day, Anne moved through the lesser-known rooms, places where monumental decisions had long been prepared quietly before ever reaching the public. She met with the chapel team beneath the soaring vaulted ceilings, discussing logistics with a level of precision that allowed no margin for error. Every detail, from the seating arrangements to the length of each hallway, from the notes of the national anthem to the pacing of the ceremony, was carefully considered. Not to display power, but to symbolize renewal. Anne wasn't crafting a grand spectacle. She was nurturing a moment the world would never forget, one that would be measured not by its grandeur, but by its meaning, inevitably compared to every coronation that came before. But instead of extravagance, she focused on the quiet moments, the pauses, the silent exchanges of glances between Catherine and the preparation team. In those looks, Anne saw the unspoken questions about the future, about responsibility, and about the kind of trust that must be built slowly, deliberately, step by step. Could she fill the void that history had left behind? Would the public accept her not just as a consort, but as a completely new symbol? Anne already knew the answer. Catherine had been crowned quietly long before anyone placed a crown on her head. Her grace was never meant to be flaunted. It had been etched into her through years of listening before speaking, appearing when no cameras were waiting, and choosing calmness when spectacle would have been easier. Anne met William in the war room late one evening. Maps of routes, seating plans, and emergency scenarios were spread across the table, but she wasn't there to review those details. She looked at him, truly looked, and saw both his mother and father reflected back at her. One's sorrow, the other's duty, and something else, his own measure, something no lineage could teach. "You know what's coming," she said. "You've always known." William didn't answer with certainty, only calm, a nod, a deep breath, a man accepting his moment. That night, Anne returned to her journal. "No one will be told," she wrote. "They will feel it." And in that quiet moment, the preparations became a promise. The crown was moving, and this time it would fall to the ground ready for the people. The London sky was unusually clear the morning the world found out. No thunder rolled, no whispers stirred, just a statement issued with the precise formality of royalty, leaving no room for misunderstanding. The date was set. William and Catherine's coronation was now official. It would be held in the spring just as the city began to bloom again. But Anne already knew the date. She had written it weeks earlier in a quiet chapel beneath a stained glass window marked by fractured history. What the world was now receiving, she had buried deep within her heart. The public erupted with speculation and excitement. Broadcasters framed it as a new chapter. Commentators debated the symbolism, but Anne focused on nothing of it. Her eyes rested on Catherine sitting by a window in one of the smaller sitting rooms, hands tightly gripping a teacup untouched. The press would describe her as composed. The palace would say she was honored. But Anne saw the weight not of fear, but of deep understanding. Catherine was not stepping into something new. She was inheriting something that could never be regained. Anne personally informed them before the official announcement. A quiet meeting, no titles, just names and family. William thanked her without words. A living gratitude shared through a breath and a bowed head. Catherine grasped Anne's hand, not submissively, but with a firm squeeze, warm and strong. "We will do well," she said, and Anne believed her. Everything began to move swiftly after that. Invitations, rehearsals, speech drafts, but Anne remained on the sidelines watching it all unfold. Like a play she once took part in, now content, directing from behind the scenes. Her role was never noticed. Never. Her mission had always been to guard those transitional moments like an invisible hand amid the rain. And now, as the days no longer belonged solely to her, she felt the change deep within her being. That night, when the city lit up in gratitude, Anne returned to her writing desk. She did not draft any strategy. She did not attend the ceremony. She only wrote one sentence slowly and carefully. "The crown will not be seized. It will be embraced." Then she closed the journal. The handover ceremony had begun not with noise, but with understanding. The declaration echoed around the world. The palace balcony had never been so silent. Anne stood behind the lace curtain, watching the workers below, making the final adjustments to the ceremonial flags. She didn't step outside. Not yet. This was not her moment. It hadn't been for a long time. But amid the quiet orchestration of what was unfolding, she found herself recalling another day decades ago, when she stood behind this very same curtain, watching her mother wave to a sea of people who believed that queens never falter. From that moment, Anne had known more clearly. In the drawing room, Catherine stood beside the coronation desk. Her expression was calm, but Anne noticed the slight twitching of her fingers, a nervous habit Anne had seen only a few times, always before an important event. Catherine was no longer just the girl married into the throne. Now she was the woman stepping into that role, and Anne, the quiet architect behind these transformations, had one final task. She slowly approached and placed a velvet box on the table. Inside was a brooch once worn by Queen Elizabeth during her first official visit as monarch. It was nothing flashy, not even valuable by royal standards, but history was woven into every golden detail. Catherine looked down, then up at Anne. No words were spoken, none were needed. That gesture echoed louder than any ceremony. It meant you belong here. That afternoon, the palace issued the official agenda for the coronation. The timing, location, and ceremonial details were calculated down to the very second. Anne quietly read through it, then folded the paper and tucked it into her diary, not as a record, but as a closing chapter. Her role was complete. Her oath kept. The next time she stepped into Westminster Abbey, it wouldn't be as a witness to duty, but as a sister and aunt watching the next generation ascend the throne. That night, Anne once again stood alone beneath her father's portrait. She said nothing. She simply nodded as if answering a question he had asked long ago. "Have we entrusted it to those worthy?" Her silence replied, "The crown was never pushed by noise or force. It was placed deliberately, gently." And within that arrangement, Anne saw not only continuity but also healing for a family, a nation, and a legacy that no longer needed to shout to be heard. The new reign had begun, and at last she could step back. Anne entered one final time. A crown had passed without being handed over. The morning of the rehearsal started with a gentle rain tapping against the palace windows, as if even the sky sensed the weight of what was to come. Anne rose early, not out of obligation, but instinct. She had witnessed enough royal power transitions to know that rehearsals revealed more than just ceremony. They revealed the pressure beneath it all. She walked down the corridor without her usual support. This was a moment she needed to observe naturally without any script. Westminster Abbey, still empty, felt heavier than usual. Its echoes carried the ghosts of history crowns, bestowed oaths, spoken lives forever changed. As William and Catherine entered, the space seemed to shift not from noise, but from gravity. They said nothing as they stepped onto the nave. They simply walked with the silent tension of those who understood that nothing would ever be the same as they once again took their place before the eyes of the world. Anne stepped aside, blending in with the first attendants, watching every step, every glance. Catherine paused briefly at the altar, her eyes lifting to the vaulted ceiling. It wasn't awe. It was surrender, a silent agreement with what was to come. Later, Anne wrote in her journal, "This is not a rising but a letting go, because the crown is not something to be seized but something to be given," and Catherine had already given hers. William rehearsed his speech with measured calmness. But Anne noticed how he occasionally looked at his wife as if anchoring himself to something real amidst the grandeur. They weren't acting, they were centering themselves. Anne never believed rehearsals were mere preparation. To her, they were a revelation. And in those quiet moments, she saw not just a couple playing roles, but two souls carrying something ancient, intertwined with modern grace. After the rehearsal, Anne wandered alone through the abbey. She paused near the spot where her mother once stood, freshly crowned, the weight of the crown heavy on her shoulders. Anne pressed her gloved hand against the cold stone wall, letting the chill seep through her skin. She felt no sorrow for the past, only reverence for it. Then she turned and quietly walked away. That evening, back in her room, she opened her journal. "They are not rehearsing for a performance," she wrote. "They are becoming something the world has yet to find a name for." The rain had stopped, the sky was clear, and for the first time in months, Anne allowed herself a gentle breath of relief. The crown was ready, and so were they. In the end, it wasn't dates or thrones that dictated the transition, but the silence between decisions. The way Anne never spoke up, never sought applause, never stepped into the spotlight, yet carried the weight of continuity with a steady heartbeat. She didn't anoint. She orchestrated. She didn't preside over the coronation. She safeguarded its meaning. While the world prepared for grand ceremonies, golden carriages, and ringing bells, Anne would once again step quietly behind the scenes. Her role was fulfilled, her promise kept. She would not stand in the aisle. She would watch from the sidelines, knowing she had laid the stones they now walked upon. The brooch quietly pinned to Catherine's dress, the dates circled in red. The whispered conversations no one heard. These were her offerings, a silent legacy embroidered beneath the velvet cloak. And when the crown was placed upon Catherine's head and William's oath echoed through Westminster, Anne would simply bow her head, not as part of the ceremony, but in quiet relief. Because this was never just about power. It was about trust. More than anyone, she understood that the strongest performances are those that are never spoken of again. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit the like button to show your support. Share this video so more people can feel the power of silence and trust. And if you want to join us on more meaningful journeys like this, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Thank you for watching till the end, and see you in the next videos. In today's video, we bring you a heartbreaking moment that shook the royal family to its core. Princess Charlotte, known for her poised and confident demeanor, was seen in tears as her mother Kate Middleton revealed a deeply emotional and personal message from Queen Elizabeth II's last wish. What did the Queen ask for in her final moments? And how did it impact the young princess? Stay tuned as we uncover the touching details that have left the world in awe. Do you believe the royal family has such emotional moments too? If yes, leave a 1 in the comments. If not, comment 0. Enjoy the video and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Recently, an important change was approved among the states, with a queen as the head of state agreeing to adjust the succession rules within the royal family. As per the new rules, if Prince William and Kate Middleton have a daughter, she will become the next queen of the United Kingdom. This is a profound change reflecting progress and openness within the royal family. Princess Charlotte, with her exceptional leadership abilities, moved the public when Kate Middleton shared Queen Elizabeth II's wishes for Charlotte's role within the royal family. Upon hearing this, Princess Charlotte was brought to tears, touching everyone deeply. This was a truly emotional moment, and together we will explore the significance of this change for the royal family. Since the Succession to the Crown Act was passed in 2013, significant changes have been implemented. Previously, younger sons were given priority over daughters in the line of succession to the throne. However, with this change, every child now has an equal opportunity with no gender discrimination. This helps create a more peaceful and equitable future for those who will inherit the throne. The farewell ceremony for Queen Elizabeth II in September 2022 was an emotional event. Princess Charlotte, at just 7 years old, displayed remarkable composure and deep respect. Not only did she walk solemnly behind the Queen's coffin, but she also wore a horseshoe brooch in remembrance of her great-grandmother's love for horseback riding. This brooch was a gift from the Queen to Charlotte, symbolizing the deep family bond between them. After King Charles III ascended the throne in May 2023, the monarchy entered a new chapter. Princess Charlotte, the daughter of Prince William, will be the heir to the throne following her grandfather, King Charles III, her father, Prince William, and her older brother, Prince George. Charlotte's position in the line of succession is determined by the order of her birth, not by gender, which promises her a bright and promising future. Compared to Princess Charlotte, Princess Anne went through difficult times being ranked lower in the line of succession to the throne simply because of her gender. Despite being the only daughter of Queen Elizabeth II, Princess Anne had to accept standing behind her younger brothers in the succession list. However, the changes in succession rules have created opportunities for female members of the royal family, marking significant progress toward gender equality within the monarchy. Princess Charlotte is a symbol of change and progress within the royal family. She is not only an heir to the throne, but also a strong and promising figure. The British monarchy is gradually adapting to the modern world while still preserving its important traditions, and Charlotte is a key part of that evolution. The process of succession to the throne in history has always followed a clearly defined pattern. The throne is passed to the eldest son of the heir, then to their descendants, and if necessary to the siblings of the heir. However, these rules remained unchanged for a long time until the Succession to the Crown Act of 2013 introduced significant reforms. One of the major changes was allowing those married to Roman Catholics to remain in the line of succession, while also removing the requirement that the sovereign must have a connection to the Church of England. Princess Charlotte, the daughter of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, is a perfect symbol of the blend of tradition and modernity within the royal family. She not only represents a shift in the way succession is viewed, but also embodies the acceptance and preservation of the royal family's traditional customs while safeguarding the importance of the British monarchy. The public's interest in Charlotte's growth is understandable, as many expect her to play an active role in public events and charitable work, just like her parents. Princess Charlotte is not like your typical princess. She displays remarkable confidence and charisma. Not only is she a protector of herself and her siblings, Prince George and Prince Louis, but Charlotte also demonstrates empathy and resilience in a tech-driven society. She has learned through educational apps under supervision to safeguard her privacy, all while leading the royal family in a new way, applying contemporary values to her royal responsibilities. One of the most touching moments was Queen Elizabeth II's request to meet with Princess Charlotte as she wanted a private conversation with her. This was not a grand royal event or a public speech, but a one-on-one chat between the Queen and her granddaughter at Balmoral Castle, where the Queen enjoyed peaceful summers. A special tea was prepared for the two of them, and no one else was present. The conversation lasted about 20 minutes, brief, but deeply meaningful, leaving a lasting impression on the Queen. When Princess Charlotte visited the Queen, she was given a sealed envelope bearing the royal crest of Queen Elizabeth. This envelope was meant to be opened only when Charlotte felt ready. Although no one knows exactly what the letter contains, a royal assistant confirmed that only the Queen knew its contents, and it may hold an important message specifically for Charlotte. This is a spiritual gift, a lesson that could help Charlotte as she grows and gains a deeper understanding of her role in the future of the monarchy. The meeting between Queen Elizabeth II and Princess Charlotte was not just a simple royal event, but symbolized something much deeper. It was not only a farewell, but also a milestone marking the delicate transfer of a bond, a duty, a legacy within the royal family. A private meeting with no one else present, no advisors or cameras, just the Queen and Charlotte. Though a small gesture, it illuminated many important aspects for the future of the monarchy. Many have begun to compare Princess Charlotte to Princess Diana, noticing similarities not only in appearance, but also in demeanor. Both share deep eyes and a gentle yet determined gaze. In the 1980s, when Diana felt isolated within the royal family, she had a private conversation with Queen Elizabeth. She shared her feelings of loneliness and being misunderstood, and the Queen listened without offering advice. It seems the Queen saw in Charlotte a part of herself, qualities she once had in her youth. The meeting at Balmoral between the Queen and Charlotte was not just an ordinary conversation, but a transfer of affection and legacy. Queen Elizabeth II entrusted Charlotte with a letter, the contents of which remain unknown to anyone. Some within the palace believed this was an opportunity for the Queen to right the wrongs of the past and impart an important message for the future. Though not public, this gesture carries a profound message of sincerity and legacy. Queen Elizabeth decided to choose Charlotte over Prince William, Prince George, or even Princess Anne. This choice came as a surprise to the public, but it held deep meaning for those close to the palace. The Queen saw in Charlotte the same qualities she had as a young woman: calmness, sharpness, and a deep understanding of the world around her. Elizabeth had once been a young girl who never expected to become a ruler. But her life changed when her uncle abdicated and her father became king overnight. Similarly, Charlotte may not expect to carry such a heavy responsibility, but she possesses the qualities that will enable her to do so in the future. Princess Charlotte has already demonstrated maturity and exceptional leadership abilities from a young age. She not only displays politeness and sharpness, but also possesses a keen sense of understanding and observation, often beyond what she outwardly shows. The Queen has noticed these qualities in Charlotte and believes she will be a worthy heir. The British monarchy is at a significant crossroads, and Charlotte, with her character and composure, could very well become a leader who helps the monarchy navigate the major changes ahead. Princess Charlotte not only resembles Queen Elizabeth in appearance and behavior, but also in spirit. She embodies the readiness, quiet strength, and sense of purpose that Elizabeth herself exhibited. Queen Elizabeth understood that her reign was coming to an end and realized that the future of the monarchy was not just about determining the heir to the throne. She recognized the importance of the younger generation, and while Prince George will ultimately become king, the Queen believes that Charlotte will inherit another valuable trait: the ability to sift through distractions, recognize what truly matters, and know the right moment to act or exercise patience. At Balmoral, the Queen's beloved retreat, a special event took place. A letter was written not as guidance or instruction, but as a personal message conveying wisdom. This letter did not discuss titles or rules. Instead, it contained a profound message for Princess Charlotte. Privately given to Charlotte with no ceremony or cameras, it was a quiet moment shared between a great-grandmother and her granddaughter, where deep emotions and connection were conveyed without the need for words. After the Queen's passing, attention shifted to London, but amid the formal ceremonies and somber atmosphere, something remarkable occurred. Princess Charlotte attended the funeral dressed in black and wearing a hat similar to Queen Elizabeth's. Though saddened, she did not express it through tears or seek attention. Instead, she walked with solemnity. As she approached Queen Camilla, a special moment unfolded between them. Charlotte and Camilla's gazes met, and in that brief moment, a deep understanding passed between them without words. Charlotte, who had received the Queen's letter earlier, knew better than anyone the power and the tension that royal roles could carry. After the funeral, life went on as usual, but Charlotte felt different. She was no longer just an outsider. Now she had naturally and effortlessly become part of the royal story. People had loved Charlotte from the moment she was born, not just because of her cuteness, but also because of her ability to form strong connections with those around her. She didn't need to force anything. She simply blended in with others effortlessly. Although Charlotte is often seen waving to the crowd and displaying confidence at public events, palace staff have noticed something unique and remarkable hidden beneath her charming exterior. Despite her young age, Charlotte possesses a special talent for perceiving and understanding things that others might overlook. One of these is her relationship with Camilla. The young princess can see aspects that other members of the royal family may have missed, creating a difference in how she understands and interacts with other family members. Princess Charlotte stands out not only for her appearance and behavior, but also for her ability to understand emotions without verbal communication. She has an exceptional ability to assess situations and quickly respond to unspoken tensions, adjusting her actions quietly, demonstrating maturity beyond her years. Palace staff often gossip about how Charlotte constantly observes and pays attention to nonverbal cues, such as body language, eye movements, and nuances in speech. When around Queen Camilla, Charlotte is never rude or rebellious, but there is a noticeable distance between them. The young princess always waits for guidance when interacting with Camilla and tends to stand close to her mother, Duchess Catherine, during public appearances. Every time Camilla enters the room, Charlotte appears tense and cautious, subtly observing her surroundings when no one is looking. Though no one has taught her to behave this way, she does so instinctively, perhaps due to the rumors she may have overheard. Although the royal family has made efforts to move past the past, their home remains haunted by the memories of Princess Diana. Even though Diana is no longer with them, she still resides in the family's spiritual home, evident in photographs, conversations about her, and the shift in atmosphere when her name is mentioned. Charlotte may not have met her grandmother, but she is aware of the love people have for Diana, and she can sense the change in the air when Camilla is mentioned. The warmth is replaced by caution, and at times discomfort, something that does not escape Charlotte's attention. One quiet afternoon at Kensington Palace, Charlotte spoke up about her feelings toward Queen Camilla. When there were no public events, she surprised her parents, William and Catherine, by seriously stating that Camilla treated her differently when no one else was around. Charlotte candidly shared that on one occasion, Camilla made a hurtful comment about her father. William and Catherine, initially unsure of how to react, soon realized the seriousness of her words when Charlotte explained further. Some who are familiar with the palace situation believe that Princess Charlotte may have seen the letter written by Queen Elizabeth for her. The letter was given to Charlotte discreetly with no ceremony or grand announcement. Those closest to the Queen knew that it held deep significance. It's possible that the message in the letter made Charlotte feel a sense of duty to behave clearly and truthfully, to assess situations accurately when needed, and that this will be crucial in the future. After Charlotte shared her feelings, things began to change within the palace. William and Catherine became more attentive to their daughter. Palace staff were instructed to keep Charlotte close to one of the parents when she was near Camilla. This rule was not made public, but was enforced discreetly. These changes were not apparent to those outside the royal family, as the family is very skilled at keeping secrets from the public. Princess Charlotte has become involved in the internal workings of the royal family, reflecting her influence on decisions within the palace. Prince William and Duchess Catherine have created a warm home where emotions are shared and making mistakes is acceptable. This marks a significant shift from the strict upbringing of previous generations. William wants Charlotte to feel comfortable being herself and to express her thoughts freely. While she is still young, Charlotte is already confident in how she carries herself, showing kindness and curiosity, and understanding that a title is not as important as having a good character. What do you think about the change in parenting style of Prince William and Princess Catherine? Could Princess Charlotte be a new role model for the royal family's next generation? If you believe values like freedom and good character are important, be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss out on more interesting royal stories. William is not just a father, but also updating the monarchy through the way he raises his children, helping them gain a proper understanding of the world. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla has had a unique journey joining the royal family. Unlike other royal members, she entered at the age of 50 when the public was not openly welcoming, and many held negative views about her. Camilla had to work hard to earn trust and build a character that is beloved by many. She does not seek to stand out, but instead chooses a discreet approach, following the rules without drawing attention. Camilla, once seen as far from the typical princess in a fairy tale, had to carve her own path. Through tireless effort, she has become a calm and respected figure alongside King Charles III. Her journey has been slow and measured, but Camilla has found a way to carry herself gracefully, subtly donning the crown. This proves her reliability, which has now become her greatest strength. Princess Charlotte has a unique perspective on the royal family, one that isn't shaped by old news or history. She looks at the present situation and acts based on her intuition. Charlotte isn't afraid to express even her smallest emotions, and even the most ordinary moments of being a little sister are noticed by those around her. For example, at Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, when her brother Prince George was reportedly teasing her, Charlotte reacted like any typical younger sister, with a sharp look. However, a notable event occurred later when Camilla, standing nearby, appeared displeased and whispered to Catherine to take Charlotte away for a moment. This lack of sensitivity on a day filled with emotion surprised many, especially given the recent passing of Queen Elizabeth. It may have been a difficult and confusing moment for Charlotte. After King Charles III's coronation, Charlotte stood by her family and bowed to her grandfather. However, she did not do the same for Camilla, possibly because she did not pick up the signal or because she felt uneasy. Although Charlotte is often praised as a confident and graceful young girl, these small moments reflect a certain caution and distance between her and Camilla. This is not dislike or conflict, but rather profound questions posed by the younger generation about roles and relationships within the royal family. Charlotte is still learning how to adjust her actions based on her intuition and perception, and these gestures do not indicate disrespect, but simply her awareness of the situations around her. Princess Charlotte may never voice her questions, but she is undoubtedly reflecting on what it means to be royal in today's world. Is it still based on tradition, or does it involve actions and the impact on how others perceive you? Charlotte lives in a royal family where she witnesses gradual changes that influence the way she views the world around her. In April 2025, Queen Camilla and King Charles made an official visit to Italy and the Vatican. This special occasion marked their 20th wedding anniversary and included a meeting with Pope Francis during a religious event. Camilla demonstrated calmness and respect throughout the trip, recognizing the significance of the visit and taking part in activities related to the Holy Year. It was the first time she stepped out from behind and confidently embraced her position. Camilla's story is one of adapting to a new environment and gradually gaining recognition within the royal family, where she was not warmly welcomed at first. She has become a calm figure, recognized and respected alongside King Charles. Although this process has been slow and discreet, she has proven herself to be reliable, and this reliability has now become her greatest strength. Although Camilla and Charlotte live in the same palace, each has distinct experiences. Camilla has grown stronger through challenges, while Charlotte was raised in an environment that allowed her to thrive without losing her individuality. However, everything changed when Charlotte overheard a conversation between Camilla and someone else about Prince William, a remark that made her start seeing her grandmother differently. One day, while the adults thought they were alone, Charlotte happened to be nearby and overheard some of Camilla's words. One sentence stood out to her: "Charles should stay king as long as possible. William isn't ready." Camilla's words struck Charlotte as cold and dismissive, though she didn't fully grasp their meaning. Later, when Charlotte shared this with her mother, Princess Catherine, her mother's calm response made Charlotte realize this was a more serious matter than she had thought. Catherine noticed the shift in the atmosphere and immediately sensed the weight of what Charlotte had shared. Camilla's words weren't just about William's future as a king. They felt personal. They suggested that someone close might not support the royal family's path forward. This led Charlotte to view Camilla in a new light, with a deeper understanding of her family and how things worked in the palace. As time passed, Charlotte began noticing things she hadn't before. Though Camilla appeared caring and affectionate with her grandchildren, smiling and holding their hands, there was always a sense of distance between her and Charlotte. It wasn't rejection or cruelty, but a polite, formal separation. At public events, Charlotte stayed closer to her mother, lacking any real warmth or connection with Camilla. Though these moments didn't show outright dislike or conflict, they revealed deeper questions that young people like Charlotte grapple with. Camilla's lack of closeness with her wasn't overt, but it was part of Charlotte's growing awareness of the royal family and its internal dynamics. The changes in her behavior reflected a maturing perspective as she began to process and evaluate her experiences. Despite the royal family appearing perfect in the public eye, photos of unity and happiness couldn't fully reflect the truth behind the scenes. Charlotte began to realize that these images only showed a superficial facade. She understood that within the royal family, there were hidden truths the adults rarely discussed. Charlotte gradually learned that what mattered wasn't the titles, but the genuine emotions behind the pictures. Though Camilla appeared calm and respectful in conversations with the royal children, Charlotte still sensed a distance between them. Camilla's attempts at small talk felt forced, lacking the playful banter or ease in her interactions with Charlotte, George, and Louis. Catherine, aware of the cautious dynamic between Camilla and her children, never pushed Charlotte to sit close to Camilla or suggested they spend time alone together. Catherine understood that trust couldn't be forced, creating a space where Charlotte could naturally express herself. One quiet evening, Charlotte told her parents, William and Catherine, that Camilla didn't want her father, Prince William, to become king. Charlotte recalled the conversation she overheard where Camilla said William wasn't ready and that Charles should remain king longer. As she shared this, the room grew heavy, and Catherine looked visibly pale. William displayed a range of emotions from shock to protectiveness. It was clear that Charlotte had picked up on the situation and grasped the gravity of what she had heard. The conversation between Charlotte and her parents wasn't about punishing her for eavesdropping, but about keeping her safe. What Charlotte uncovered went beyond a minor argument, revealing that Camilla might have a profound influence on secretive decisions. It was a reminder that in powerful families, truth can start as a quiet secret, but will eventually come to light, and Charlotte was learning to see that truth clearly. Charlotte was no longer just a girl in pretty dresses waving to crowds from the palace balcony. She had grown into a quiet listener and observer. Her small actions, like noticing shifts in the atmosphere when Camilla entered or picking up on hushed conversations, showed she was taking on a more significant role in the royal family. Charlotte not only saw things adults might overlook, but also understood emotions without needing words. The story of the Spencer tiara, the sparkling jewel famously worn by Princess Diana on her wedding day, stirred considerable excitement in the palace. Unlike the official royal collection, this tiara held immense sentimental value. Kept within the Spencer family for generations, it was reserved for significant family occasions. Now the tiara is to be passed to Princess Charlotte Diana's first granddaughter as a tribute to the aunt she never knew. Though many supported the decision, Queen Camilla was displeased with the news about the tiara. She felt that passing the tiara to Charlotte would symbolize a bridge between Diana's past and future, something Camilla couldn't fully embrace. Camilla had worked to establish her place in the royal family, but the tiara stirred unavoidable memories of Diana and her complex ties with the Spencer family. Camilla's reaction wasn't just about jewelry or tradition. It ran deeper, tied to something she had faced alone for a long time, the memory of Princess Diana. Diana remained a towering figure in the royal family and the public's eyes. Camilla felt Diana's legacy loomed large, easily perpetuated through potent symbols like the tiara. Charlotte inheriting it seemed an inevitable step in preserving Diana's legacy, something Camilla had yet to fully reconcile with. Though young and without an official role in the monarchy, Charlotte was emerging as a key figure in the royal family. No grand speeches or ceremonies marked this, but her presence was growing stronger and more noticeable. She had a unique talent for connecting with others, not through words, but through her actions and expressions. Small gestures like caring for her younger brother inspired confidence in the royal family's future, and Charlotte was increasingly seen as a model of compassion and optimism for a new generation. Queen Camilla has spent years carving out her place in the royal world, quietly working alongside King Charles and patiently supporting him through challenging times. She has focused on meaningful causes like literacy programs and aiding women in crisis, but has never fully won public acceptance. Despite her significant role in practical duties in the eyes of many, she still hasn't completely claimed the position she aspires to within the royal family. Though the public saw unity in the royal family through staged photos, the palace corridors were filled with unspoken emotions and unacknowledged tensions. Charlotte was becoming more attuned to what lay behind the smiles and formal gestures. She realized the royal family wasn't just about pretty pictures, but a web of complex relationships and potential threats from major decisions like passing the Spencer tiara to her. Despite her youth, Princess Charlotte has left a lasting impression on people. Each time she appears in a new outfit, her photos quickly spread across websites, sparking lively discussions. Charlotte doesn't seek attention, but she naturally becomes the focal point. Those in the palace acknowledge her unique quality, a subtle charm, and innate grace. This is part of who she is, and her presence radiates effortlessly, requiring no training or special effort. Since her birth, Charlotte has carried forward Princess Diana's legacy in her own way. While the family holds deep respect and affection for Diana, William and Catherine have ensured their children understand she was not just a royal figure, but a real person. Charlotte doesn't see Diana as merely a portrait or a name. She recognizes her as a vital part of her world. Family stories and videos about Diana have helped Charlotte grasp the importance of compassion and authenticity. Charlotte seems to embody Diana's compassion with a unique ability to sense others' emotions. If someone appears tired or sad, she notices immediately and offers comfort without prompting. Princess Catherine is guiding Charlotte to be thoughtful and empathetic while fostering her emotional resilience and compassionate leadership. Charlotte not only understands her role in the royal family, but also recognizes how she can positively shape the monarchy's future. A defining moment in Charlotte's journey to maturity was receiving a letter from Queen Elizabeth II at Balmoral. The letter's contents remain a mystery. Some believe it's unopened, others think Charlotte may have read it. Regardless, the letter symbolizes the passing of wisdom, trust, and authority from one royal woman to another. It marked a significant milestone for Charlotte, signifying the continuation of Diana's legacy and a new chapter for the monarchy. Princess Charlotte not only stays true to herself, but also inspires others with her authenticity, inner strength, and composure. Though Camilla currently wears the crown, Charlotte's influence is growing, and she is emerging as a new role model for the monarchy. The public senses Charlotte's uniqueness. She doesn't need to perform or deceive. She presents herself sincerely. Her perceptiveness and listening skills make her a significant figure in the royal family. Princess Charlotte has brought a fresh breeze to the monarchy. Her honesty and composure inspire trust in the royal family's future. Charlotte doesn't try to replace anyone. She simply lives authentically in her role. She is emerging as a potential leader with compassion and a knack for forging strong connections in a royal family, often bound by protocol over emotion. With all the changes and development that Charlotte is bringing, do you believe she has the potential to become a great queen in the future? What do you think about Princess Charlotte's growing influence? Share your thoughts in the comments below the video, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on more interesting videos. Make sure to click on the video displayed on your screen. In a shocking turn of events, Camilla completely loses it when Kate is caught wearing Princess Diana's most treasured heirloom. Why is this heirloom so important, and why is it causing such a stir in the royal family? Stay tuned to the video to discover all the intriguing details and see how this moment is changing the dynamics within the royal family. What do you think about Kate wearing Diana's heirloom? Could this spark a major controversy in the royal family? If you think this will change everything, leave a 1 in the comments. If not, leave a 0. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more dramatic videos. The tiara was not just any royal accessory. It was the most precious heirloom once belonging to Princess Diana, the most beloved woman in the memory of the British royal family and in the hearts of millions around the world. Diana was not only the mother of 2 princes, but also a symbol of compassion, courage, and the wounds that were never fully healed. For Kate to wear this tiara was not only a formal gesture, but also carried a deep, meaningful message. Queen Camilla's smile, despite holding a powerful position beside King Charles, suddenly grew strained. Her eyes flickered as she caught sight of the tiara, a keepsake that carried not only material value, but also memories of a deeply controversial past. According to whispers behind closed palace doors, Camilla was said to have lost her composure. To her, that crown was a symbol of a woman whose shadow she could never escape, Diana Charles's first wife and her former rival in love. Was this merely a coincidence or a carefully orchestrated move? People are beginning to ask, could Kate be sending a powerful message by choosing the tiara so closely associated with Diana on such a significant occasion? And right in front of Camilla, Kate, the woman long known for her silence and for staying above royal infighting, now seems to be steadily stepping closer to the role of future queen and winning more of the public's affection with each passing day. In the palace, where every gesture carries political weight, symbols often speak louder than words. Crowns, jewelry, even the colors of an outfit, each is carefully chosen to convey subtle messages understood only by the most discerning eyes. And in that world where every smile is measured, where every bow might serve as a statement, Kate's appearance wearing Diana's tiara could hardly be seen as mere coincidence. No one expected that the one to break the silence would be Princess Catherine. Once considered too reserved, too safe in her demeanor, Kate is now quietly shaking the foundations of the British monarchy with steady strategic steps. In her recent appearances, she is no longer just the perfect wife standing beside Prince William. She is redefining her role, a woman of poise, purpose, and a clear message. Many believe that Kate is not simply asserting her position, she is also seeking a form of historical justice for her late mother-in-law, Princess Diana, who endured turbulent years due to Charles and Camilla's affair. Kate's fashion choices, the specific jewelry she wears at major events, no longer seem coincidental. Each one appears to be a carefully chosen symbol intricately linked to Diana's legacy, a quiet yet powerful statement that her memory remains alive and worthy of honor. The moment Kate wore the lover's knot tiara, a powerful piece once worn by Princess Diana right in front of Camilla, it was more than just an aesthetic choice. It was a wordless affirmation, a message delivered with quiet confidence and a deep understanding of royal history. Royal watchers insist this is no longer a matter of fashion, it's a meaningful strategy. Kate doesn't need to say a word. Every time she appears, every piece of jewelry she wears tells a story of continuity of memory and of a woman quietly redefining power within the royal family. Not through conflict, not through struggle, but through resilience, grace, and intellect. In the royal spotlight, where everything is on display, but not everyone sees clearly, Kate has chosen to make her voice heard with quiet strength and commanding presence, without ever speaking out loud. While Camilla continues to struggle for public sympathy, Kate is embraced effortlessly, almost unconditionally, much like Princess Diana once was. Her mere presence is enough to awaken memories the royal family may have hoped time would quietly bury. Each time Kate walks the red carpet, it's as if Diana's shadow walks with her, gentle yet defiant. And for Camilla, no matter how hard she tries, she cannot escape the past she so desperately wishes to forget. But Kate is not stopping at symbolic gestures. She is more proactive than ever in asserting her role within the royal family. From her polished media presence to launching impactful community initiatives, every move reinforces her image as a truly deserving future queen. Each step appears carefully calculated, as if sending a clear message a new era is coming. And in that era, there may be no room for a legacy as contested as Camilla's. What was once Kate's hallmark gentleness has now been replaced by a calm, resolute determination. She no longer avoids Camilla. Instead, she looks her straight in the eye, not with hostility, nor with harsh words, but with a gaze that clearly signals the shifting balance of power. On numerous occasions, Kate has quietly outshined Camilla not through effort or rivalry, but simply by her natural confidence and grace. Remarkably, Kate has never publicly criticized Camilla, nor shown contempt, nor engaged in open conflict. Yet it is precisely this silence that carries an immense weight as it speaks volumes without uttering a single word. For Camilla, who now holds the title of Queen, the threat is very real. Kate's growing influence combined with her deep connection to the public is undeniable. And for those who once loved Diana, every step Kate takes feels like a silent yet unmistakable declaration. I am here not just as a royal family member, but as the one who will restore the honor Diana never got to fully preserve. Many believe that Kate is not only strengthening Prince William's position within the royal family, but is also quietly bringing an end to Camilla's silent reign. A reign built not on complete love, but on waiting compromise and the unfinished pieces of history. Those close to the family say Kate understands deeply what Diana endured not only from William's stories, but also through the unspoken pain in his eyes every time he speaks of his mother. So this is not just a power game. It is a journey in search of justice. A silent yet fierce battle between truth and image. A battlefield without swords or shields, where every gesture and every glance carries weight. A confrontation where the victor doesn't need to raise their voice, just walk steadily and let the public feel it for themselves. Camilla, who ascended to the throne of Queen, not through public admiration, but through time and endurance, is now under greater pressure than ever before. She understands that the crown she wears daily is becoming heavier, not because of its physical weight, but because of the expectations she cannot fulfill. Nothing weighs on her more than holding a title she knows she has never truly won in the hearts of the public. And the most painful part is that every time she appears, people don't see Camilla. They only see the shadow of someone else. Not just Diana, but Kate. A Kate who is gradually being seen as the embodiment of the justice Diana never received. A Kate who exists not through spectacle, but through calmness and dignity. She doesn't need to fight openly. She doesn't need criticism. Because in the world of symbols, silence is the most powerful voice of all. People have rallied behind her. In the eyes of the British public, Kate is no longer just a royal bride or even a future queen. She has become a living symbol of compassion, dignity, and the continuation of the legacy that Princess Diana once left behind. Diana may never have had the chance to complete her own story. But through Kate, that story is being rewritten with grace, calmness, and above all with an inner strength that cannot be underestimated. If one day Camilla is forced to step back, it may not be because of a royal decree, but because of a far stronger force, the silent yet powerful will of the public. And Kate is the one who has awakened that force, not through loud speeches, but through the way she lives, through her image and undeniable presence. When that day comes, if it ever does, justice for Diana won't arrive in the glare of scandal or heated controversy. It will come quietly, softly, like an apology whispered by time, like a discreet smile of truth restored. It will come through a woman Diana never had the chance to meet. A woman who now bears the heavy responsibility of righting historical wrongs, wearing a crown weighted not only with diamonds, but also with expectations, unhealed wounds, and the longing to be acknowledged. When that moment arrives, it may very well be the first step toward the salvation the British monarchy needs more than ever. And then the moment arrived on an evening that seemed ordinary at the royal family's biggest event of the year. Everyone expected a smooth, glamorous night with no surprises. But then Princess Catherine stepped out. No one anticipated that what would silence the entire room wasn't her gown or her usual radiance, but the crown she wore on her head. Princess Diana's favorite crown. In that very moment, the atmosphere shifted. Queen Camilla froze. The smile that had been playing on her lips slowly faded away. And according to those behind closed doors, she broke down in tears. Not because of the crown itself, but because of everything it symbolized. A quiet wave of surprise spread across the room. Conversations continued, laughter still echoed, but something had undeniably changed. Those paying close attention sensed it. The silence carried weight. It spoke volumes without a single word being uttered. The crown had appeared before, but this time it carried a completely different meaning. It was no longer just a beautiful accessory. It was a symbol, a memory, a message. It reminded everyone of Diana, not merely a royal mother, but a deeply influential figure, an icon many believe has yet to receive her due justice. That night, the crown didn't just sparkle with diamonds. It shone with longing, with remembrance, and with the silent understanding shared by all for the woman who once wore it. Not long after Queen Camilla entered. As always, she appeared polished and flawless. Her own crown sat neatly atop her head. She smiled calmly, but to those nearby, that smile seemed slightly more fragile than usual. Her steps faltered just a bit, a fleeting hesitation. Then her eyes met Catherine's. She saw that crown, Diana's crown. The shift in the atmosphere became unmistakable. Something real had just happened. At that moment, no one was thinking about fashion. No one was talking about dresses. It was a moment heavy with history. Camilla, who had claimed her position not through admiration, but through time and acceptance, now faced a different reality. The public had made its choice. Not through ballots, but through glances, silence, and applause that was never given. That crown revived an old story, the story of a woman once hurt by an incomplete love, now represented by another more vivid than ever. From that moment on, Camilla was no longer the center of the room. Her presence grew quiet, restrained. No one said it aloud, but everyone felt it. Diana had never truly left. And Kate, in silence, was bringing her back, not with words, but through her very presence. Although the party continued outwardly as usual, wine-flowing light conversations mingling with the classical music, a wave of anxious whispers began to spread through the palace corridors. Behind closed doors, the atmosphere grew tense. Without a word spoken, those well-versed in royal traditions could clearly sense what was unfolding. For in this palace, nothing is ever accidental. Every piece of jewelry chosen, every crown worn, carries a message silent yet sharp as a blade. Some pieces are simply beautiful, but others, like the crown worn by Princess Catherine tonight, bear the weight of memory, history, and symbolic transition. The issue isn't just who wears what. It lies in the meaning the piece conveys, what it represents, what memories it awakens, and most importantly, how it makes someone in the room feel. And on that night, the one who felt it most deeply was Queen Camilla. Catherine's choice to wear Diana's crown was not merely an aesthetic decision or a style statement. It was a declaration, a wake-up call to emotions long asleep, memories thought to be forgotten, and perhaps a sign of something far greater regarding her true place within the royal family. In that moment, everything became breathtakingly real, no longer ceremony, no longer the spotlight, but deeply personal, intimate, and almost overwhelmingly authentic. That crown, with its sparkling diamonds and heavy history, was more than just a precious piece of jewelry. It had become a message, a vivid symbol, and more importantly, it was a message Camilla could never respond to, because the connection between that crown, Diana the public, and the memories of a generation would never belong to her. To outsiders, it might just be a royal crown, magnificent, luxurious, timeless. But for Camilla, who was once seen as the woman who came between a fairy tale love, that crown carried a much deeper meaning. It was an unrelenting reminder of the role she was once forbidden to enter. A mirror reflecting the love and admiration she never truly received, because that love, that public devotion, would forever belong to someone else. Diana once wore that crown during the most glamorous yet heartbreaking moments of her life. Over time, it became more than just an accessory. It turned into a part of her deeply emotional personal story, carrying the sorrow, dignity, and strength of a woman who was both fragile and resilient. So when Catherine wore it again, especially at a highly publicized event, the wave of emotions it stirred was almost impossible to ignore. The crown did not just sparkle with diamonds. It shone brightly with memory, with history, and with a love that never fades for a woman who has gone but never left the hearts of the public. Diana's legacy seemed only to grow stronger with each passing year, and now it quietly yet powerfully lives on in Catherine. For some within the palace walls, that crown is like an invisible armor Diana once wore, a shield between her and the world, between her and the things she could never control. It made her noble even in her most shattered moments. And now, as Camilla sees Catherine wearing it, she may feel as if the past itself has stepped into the room uninvited and unstoppable, carrying the strength of memories never forgiven. Camilla's story has always been complicated. Even though she has become queen, her name remains inseparable from the saddest chapter of Diana and Charles's marriage. And that evening, with just a single crown that passed, was gently but inevitably recalled, like a cold breeze slipping through the red velvet curtains, causing those involved to shudder. Under the glittering lights of the ballroom, the public smiled politely and engaged in light conversation, but behind closed doors, the atmosphere had completely changed. For many years, Camilla has been the target of public scrutiny. Despite becoming queen, she still faces criticism, and the shadow of Diana's legacy seems to cling to her relentlessly. When Catherine wore that iconic crown that night, it sent a silent yet powerful message: no matter how much time passes, the hearts of the public still belong to Diana. Some emotional wounds, especially those public and deep ones, never fully heal. That crown carries those memories, quietly evoking the past, yet with great power. It is not just a luxurious item, but a symbol capable of reopening pains that many thought were long buried. By royal decree, many of Queen Elizabeth's jewels were passed on to Camilla after she ascended to the throne, but the lover's knot tiara, Diana's favorite, and forever associated with her name, was not among them. According to tradition, once a tiara is bestowed, it remains forever with its recipient. So when Catherine appeared wearing that tiara, it became an undeniable sign Camilla would never wear it. No yesterday, no today, no ever again. And that knowledge was perhaps the most painful truth for her. Not merely a beautiful accessory, that tiara serves as an emotional bridge between Catherine and the public. People don't just see a glamorous duchess. They also feel the spiritual presence of Diana, her grace, her heart, and her love. No matter how many royal jewels Camilla wears, the legacy that Diana created can never be replicated. Because Catherine isn't just carrying glamour. She is wearing a story, the story of a figure forever remembered by the public. That tiara, with its sparkling diamonds, not only reflects light, but also reflects a legacy, a powerful memory that has endured through the many ups and downs of royal history. It represents the silent, yet potent presence of a woman who has passed on but never left the hearts of those who still remember her. If you enjoyed this story and want to learn more, don't forget to like, share the video, and comment your thoughts below. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss out on more fascinating videos. Now let's continue the story together. There remains an unanswered mystery. How did that legendary tiara ultimately end up in Catherine's hands and not Camilla's, who was originally entitled to choose it first? Could it have been Queen Elizabeth herself who passed it on as a subtle message? This choice transcends material value. It touches the very consciousness of the monarchy and the faith of the public. Perhaps this is the true showdown, not between two queens, but between the past carried through time, represented by Diana and her legacy, and a future that Catherine can embrace and continue with both great potential and profound responsibility. Within the silent walls of the palace, the collection of jewelry was quietly distributed according to royal protocol. When Camilla, as queen, was granted the right to choose first, it was not a personal favor, but a strict procedure based on rank. Everyone assumed she would select the piece with the deepest sentimental value, such as the symbolic lover's knot tiara, instead of a crown. However, that did not happen. Unexpectedly, that very crown was bestowed upon Duchess Catherine. Along the royal corridors, this move sparked quiet yet profound whispers. Royal watchers believed Camilla had the right to choose it, but somehow the tiara ended up with Kate. So what really happened? Sources reveal that there is a close, discreet, yet meaningful relationship between Queen Elizabeth and Catherine. Some believe the Queen made a deliberate personal decision to pass Diana and Anne's favorite tiara to Kate as a tribute to the late daughter-in-law. Others suggest that this piece had already been promised to Catherine beforehand, before Camilla had the chance to make her choice. Regardless of the facts, the outcome is undeniable. The most iconic and emotionally significant piece in the royal collection is no longer up for auction, but belongs to Catherine. And the public's reaction was immediate and intense. The moment images of Catherine wearing the tiara were made public, social media erupted with admiration. Many compared her to Diana, calling her the reflection of the late princess. Others described it as destiny. The message echoed through the crowd, "The tiara has chosen her." That moment said it all, and for Camilla, nothing could be more unsettling. After years of striving for public acceptance and affection, seeing another woman wear the piece so closely associated with Diana must have deeply wounded her. Royal experts believe that Catherine is not merely wearing the tiara, she is carrying a promise. In that radiant image, the public saw a future queen emerging. Camilla, despite holding the highest position beside the king, has gradually become overshadowed in the background. This shift is not just about jealousy, but reflects a deeper transfer of power. Camilla holds the official title, but Catherine is the one who truly holds the hearts of the public. In the royal world, love and admiration from the people carry more weight than any title. The crown on Catherine's head is not merely an accessory, it is a symbol of the transfer of power and status, causing Camilla to slowly lose her place in the public's regard. However, Camilla did not surrender without a response. At the next royal event, she appeared with confidence, wearing another precious crown that had once been Queen Elizabeth's favorite, a statement that she too could represent the stability and tradition of the monarchy. She smiled gracefully for the cameras, displaying her pride and power. But no matter how much she sparkled, the spotlight still didn't belong to Camilla. The attention, applause, and admiring gazes continued to focus on Catherine, the one who had quietly claimed the place Diana once held. The silent rivalry between the two women wasn't about the jewelry itself, but the deep meaning behind it. Although Camilla owned one of the most historic royal crowns, her appearance failed to make a significant impact. The media was almost silent, and social media buzzed little about the gems or the story behind them. All eyes remained fixed on Catherine, who wore Diana's iconic crown. What stayed in everyone's mind wasn't the material value, but the emotions and legacy it carried. What made things even harder for Camilla was Catherine's natural ease and grace. While Camilla struggled to establish her position and prove herself, Catherine had long lived within that story, and just a glance or a small gesture from her was enough to create a powerful connection with the public. When Catherine wore that crown, the world responded with warmth and deep emotion. In contrast, no matter how dazzling Camilla's crown was, hardly anyone noticed. The moment Camilla had hoped would mark her grand comeback only highlighted the stark difference between them. One was admired, the other beloved, an undeniable contrast in the hearts of the public between Camilla and Catherine. That's right. Within the royal family, wearing a crown isn't just a moment to shine or showcase status. It carries a deep tradition and emotional power that not everyone can truly understand. These crowns aren't simply sparkling accessories. They are symbols of authority, legacy, and one's place in royal history. When the monarch personally bestows a crown on a royal woman, it's an incredibly symbolic decision, marking an official and permanent recognition of her status within the monarchy. And once that crown is given, it stays with the recipient for life, meaning the door is forever closed to others like Camilla, even if she holds the title of Queen Consort. The strict rules about who gets to wear the crown, when and under what circumstances, further emphasize the formality and sacredness of royal jewels. Catherine wearing Diana's crown is not just a fashion statement, but an official entry into the royal history, a continuation that is publicly acknowledged and admired. In contrast, for Camilla, this crown represents a closed door, a symbol she cannot possess, even though she stands at the highest position in the family. The most painful thing is not the material value of the crown or the sparkle of its diamonds, but the emotional and historical connection it carries, a connection Camilla cannot have with Diana's legacy. That's why when Catherine steps out wearing Diana's crown, it is not just a personal moment for her, but a resurrection of the spirit and heritage of the late princess, making the public continuously admire and love her. No matter how high Camilla rises, no matter how many titles she holds, she can never escape the overwhelming shadow of Diana, a woman who not only left behind memories, but also became a symbol, a legacy that lives on in the hearts of both the people and the royal family. And it is this very aspect that creates a deeply emotional royal story where symbols tell not only of power, but also of love, respect, and memories that can never fade. Every time Catherine wears that iconic crown, it becomes more than just a sparkling piece of jewelry. People don't just see the diamonds, they feel something deeper. They are reminded of Diana's gentle heart, her kindness, and the struggles she endured. When they look at Catherine, they see the echoes of those quiet strengths, almost as if they are seeing Diana again, but this time in the calmness and confident maturity that Catherine embodies. This is what makes Camilla's journey more challenging than ever. Despite securing her place beside King Charles and taking on all royal duties, she cannot erase the emotional distance the public feels between her and Catherine. That distance becomes even more apparent when Catherine wears Diana's crown, not Camilla. The crown doesn't just shine with diamonds, it stirs powerful emotions, emotions that are not tied to Camilla, but to Diana, and now it seems to Catherine. It's not just a story about who will wear the crown, but also about who the people want to see wear it. That deep emotional connection cannot be created simply through effort or titles. Catherine doesn't try to win the public's heart. She naturally holds it with her calm strength, her charity work, and her grace, even under pressure. She has quietly built a lasting and genuine bond with the people. And when Catherine appears with Diana's crown, the late princess's beloved piece of jewelry, it further affirms that she carries Diana's spirit within her, passing it on to a new generation. Camilla may hold the title of queen, possess official power, and own royal estates, but the deep affection of the public will always be directed towards Catherine. This is not something any royal title can buy. The crown is not just a part of tradition. It is a vivid reflection of how the world views these two women. Camilla may hold status and ceremony, but Catherine has the genuine admiration of the people, and in a monarchy where symbols and meanings matter more than ever, the quiet love from the public may be the strongest power of all. Now, as the emotional divide between Catherine and Camilla becomes increasingly apparent, a natural question arises. How did Catherine come to possess the iconic lover's knot tiara, which once belonged to Diana, when Camilla, by royal rank, had the first choice? What transpired behind the palace walls remains a mystery filled with private decisions and unexpected twists, leading to this historic moment, a story never before revealed about the royal jewelry collection that many have never seen. The lover's knot tiara is a powerful symbol of love, heartbreak, and an enduring history. First created in 1914 for Queen Mary, it was later passed down to Queen Elizabeth II. Many years later, Queen Elizabeth chose to gift it to Princess Diana as a wedding present. But that tiara was not just a simple gift. It became a part of Diana herself. Diana wore the tiara at formal events, international trips, and even during some of her most painful public appearances. Despite its grandeur and brilliance, the crown was heavy and not easy to wear, much like the complex and challenging life Diana faced within the royal family. Yet she never showed the difficulty it caused. Diana wore it with such grace that over time the tiara became more than just a piece of jewelry. It turned into a symbol of her quiet strength, According to those close to her, every time Diana wore the tiara, it was as though she was telling the world, "I am still here." Even as her marriage fell apart, she maintained her composure and dignity in front of the public. And the tiara remained there, silently accompanying her through that emotionally charged journey. After Diana's tragic passing in 1997, the tiara almost disappeared from the public eye. It was carefully stored away as if it were buried alongside the immense grief of the royal family's loss. No one touched it for many years, as it held deep memories and emotions. Then, in 2015, something unexpected happened. The tiara made a return, but not for Camilla, rather for Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge. The moment Catherine wore the tiara caused a quiet shock among royal observers, as if Diana had returned not in form but through her spirit. Catherine wearing the tiara was not just a fashion statement. It awakened memories of Diana within the entire royal splendor. This emotional revival is exactly why this tiara holds such significance for Camilla. The public still holds a special admiration for Diana, and now they feel a similar warmth towards Catherine. Although Camilla has the right to choose from the valuable heirlooms of Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth, this particular tiara holds an irreplaceable place, one that will forever belong to the hearts of the people reserved for Diana. Even when others wear different pieces, this tiara will always remain an immortal symbol, a reminder of the legacy and spirit of Princess Diana. And now the real question arises. How did the lover's knot tiara end up in Catherine's hands when Camilla was supposed to be the first in line? To understand this, we must go back and carefully examine how Queen Elizabeth II's precious jewelry collection was quietly divided, a decision that may have completely changed the way we view the women in the royal family. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away, her vast royal jewelry collection filled with crowns, brooches, tiaras, and priceless heirlooms needed to be carefully and methodically divided. But this was not a casual task, nor one based on personal preferences. According to royal experts, the entire process followed a strict set of rules based on hierarchy and roles within the royal family. As Queen Camilla had the priority to choose first, and had full access to the most valuable and precious items in the collection. However, what surprised many was that Camilla did not claim the lover's knot tiara, the piece of jewelry forever linked to Diana's memory and image. Instead, it was passed on to Duchess Catherine. This decision left many within the palace stunned and questioning. Some wondered whether Camilla voluntarily stepped aside, or if this was a decision that Queen Elizabeth had made long before her passing. Those close to the royal family believed that it was the late queen herself who chose Catherine to be the heir to this special tiara. She had a deep emotional connection with Catherine and wanted this precious piece, which was also a symbol of Diana's love and legacy, to be passed on to someone deserving of carrying that spirit forward. This decision was not just about status, but also about emotion and personal connection. There have been reports suggesting that King Charles quietly supported this decision as well. He likely wished that the memory of his late wife would be preserved and honored through the woman who is now the wife of his son. Not only was Catherine given the lover's knot tiara, but she also inherited many other precious pieces from Queen Elizabeth's collection, ranging from elegant brooches and timeless necklaces to accessories connected to Princess Margaret. Meanwhile, Camilla inherited other significant royal pieces, such as the Burmese ruby tiara and some signature jewelry of Queen Mary. The clear difference lies in the emotional value and public significance each piece carries. The jewelry connected to the most profound emotional histories, symbols of tradition and sentiment, seems to belong to Catherine. It's not just about their rarity or sparkle, but the deep connection the tiara evokes, a connection that only true symbols can create. As one journalist once said, the most important thing is the story behind the gem, and in the royal world, meaning is far more valuable than diamonds. The division of this special treasure not only shifted attention away from Camilla, but also quietly reignited an old feeling of disappointment within her. Camilla had waited many years to become queen, enduring relentless public criticism, and finally secured her position. Yet when the brightest moment arrived, it was Catherine who stepped into the spotlight, with each jewel seemingly shining through her. Camilla may have worn the crown, but Catherine inherited the fairy tale and the public's heart. In a family built on history and imagery, sometimes emotion outweighs ceremony. And the moment Catherine appeared before the public wearing that iconic tiara not only continued Diana's story, but also sent a subtle yet powerful message, a message quietly impossible to ignore. According to royal observers, this sparked a strong reaction within Camilla, stirring the atmosphere in the palace. The tiara, once just a beautiful heirloom, had now become something sharper, a symbol and a challenge. When Catherine wore the tiara, newspapers were immediately flooded with images and headlines, social media exploded, and television programs constantly discussed it. But beneath the sparkle and grace was something much larger. To the public, it was a proud tribute to the tradition and elegance of the royal family. But for Camilla, according to some insiders, it was a deeply personal message, a subtle reminder sent directly to her. What adds to the pain is the way Catherine wears the tiara so naturally, with a strong presence, calm demeanor, and confident posture. Every gesture she makes reminds the public of Princess Diana not as a copy, but as a continuation of her legacy. And that is something Camilla has never truly been able to do. She may wear other jewelry, she may appear at major events, but this particular tiara, the one that holds Diana's spirit, belongs only to Catherine, who carries that quiet pride. This kind of deep connection cannot be borrowed or exchanged. No matter how much jewelry Camilla owns, that emotional tiara may forever remain out of her reach. Its influence spread instantly. Social media was flooded with comparisons between Princess Diana and Catherine. Many began to call Kate the people's princess of the modern era, even dubbing her Queen 2.0. Within hours, the tiara had become a much more powerful symbol than just a piece of jewelry. It became a symbol of the woman the public believes will be the future of the monarchy. That same evening, Camilla appeared wearing a different tiara, but her presence seemed to quietly fade into the shadows, while all eyes remained fixed on Catherine. For many, this contrast wasn't a mere coincidence. According to palace insiders, it seemed like a silent confrontation, and it was clear who had captured the world's attention. That's why the moment carried such weight. It wasn't just about a beautiful royal treasure, but about the deep emotions attached to it. In the royal world, how the public perceives you often matters more than any title. By choosing to pass the special tiara to Catherine, it wasn't just a step into a memory. It was a step into the hearts of millions. For Camilla, that gesture stirred old pains, reminding her of something she had long tried to forget. Not all crowns are worn on your head. Some crowns are deeply felt in the hearts of the people, and those are the true crowns that matter. Now, with emotions stirred and the public seemingly choosing sides, the next big question arises. Could this moment have erased or created a lasting rift that even Camilla, with all her royal power, cannot repair? To better understand this, we need to look back at the time before the tiara became the focal point on the headlines, when the tensions between Camilla and Catherine began to quietly form. Their complicated and tumultuous relationship was woven over many years, even when the competition between royal members had never been openly acknowledged. Things became more complicated when Prince William officially introduced Kate Middleton to the inner circle of the palace. From the beginning, Camilla was said to have concerns not about Kate's personality or behavior, but about her background. Kate was not born into royalty or the aristocracy, and she did not come from a prestigious family. In Camilla's eyes, this meant that Kate wasn't fully suited for the world she was about to enter. It's important to remember that Camilla also had a difficult journey to join royal life. She had to fight relentlessly for her place, face harsh public judgment, and spend years proving herself to the royal family. So when Kate appeared and was immediately admired by the public, it's possible that Camilla felt a sense of unfairness. Kate didn't have to work hard to earn that love. It seemed to be given to her almost overnight. As the drama unfolds, the question remains, what impact will this have on the royal family? With tensions rising, it's clear that things are far from settled. Will this be the beginning of a shift in royal power, or will it remain just another royal controversy? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure. This is a moment that will be remembered in royal history. Stay tuned for more updates on this thrilling saga. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more inside stories and royal revelations. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Prince William has resumed his royal duties for the first time since his father's cancer diagnosis and has spoken candidly about the family's health challenges. "We are incredibly grateful for everyone's care and kindness," he said. Still, the impact of the recent revelation was beyond what anyone expected. King Charles has been diagnosed with a grave illness, one that alters everything and, according to several sources, cannot be cured. Behind the palace's thick stone walls, he has begun to prepare for what few are willing to face the end. Letters are now being written. Duties are being discreetly handed over. In a personal message to Prince William, just one line appeared. "Now it's your turn." The king is making fewer public appearances. His calendar is beginning to shift, and a quiet stillness is slowly descending over the United Kingdom. As emotional goodbyes unfold, one pressing question lingers. How will this reign conclude? If you find this story intriguing, drop a comment with the number 1. If not, type 0. Don't forget to share the video, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming exciting videos. Now let's dive into the story. The countdown has begun for King Charles. His goodbye, subtle and without ceremony, has already started. There was no royal announcement, no formal address, just a handwritten note penned by the king himself. His script, his words, his emotion. "Now it's your turn. Take it, and do better than I did." A short message that changed everything. Inside the palace, the royal family is facing an inevitable truth. A close source shared the king's illness is incurable and advancing. While specifics are still private, those nearest to him admit he has started saying his goodbyes. He's putting everything in order, a palace aide revealed. It's more than just documents or formalities. It's intimate handwritten letters, personal messages, final words, and quiet reflections. Not only did he send a letter to William, but another marked private was also delivered to Prince Harry via a secure diplomatic channel. What's inside that letter only Harry knows. However, a source said it was a gesture of peace, possibly the final one. Charles has started skipping many public events. Assistants note his schedule is becoming quieter day by day. Behind the scenes, the royal calendar is being reshuffled. No official statements have been made, because right now the king's focus is on just one thing: the people he will soon leave behind. The silence about his health could no longer be kept. Soon after those private letters were sent, King Charles was admitted to the hospital. This news instantly shocked the entire nation. What began as an ordinary day quickly turned alarming. The king was rushed to the hospital, reportedly because of complications linked to his ongoing treatment. The palace called it a temporary reaction, but many remained skeptical. "There's much they haven't shared," said a former BBC reporter. When schedules shift this fast, something serious is happening. Within hours, all public engagements were canceled without explanation. A key meeting with foreign leaders was delayed indefinitely. Even the official royal website quietly took down several planned events. The media sprang into action immediately. TV anchors started speculating live on air. Was something wrong? Was the situation more serious than expected? A BBC insider suggested that a larger plan could be quietly underway. "We're not just bracing for a routine medical update," they said, "but something far more significant." For many people in the UK, that moment brought a chilling sense of déjà vu. It recalled memories of how the palace handled the final days of Queen Elizabeth II. Silence, then heaviness, sadness. And now, with the king hospitalized, whispers began to grow louder. Is this the sign of the end? The first moment of the final chapter. The pressure mounting on the royal family to reveal the truth was increasing by the hour. But as the palace maintained its silence, others began to speak out, including a figure closely watched by the public with both concern and hope. A cold, hard statement came from Lady Colin Campbell. If there's one voice in the world of royal commentary that has ever stirred public opinion, it's hers. And this time she made a bolder claim than ever before. "There's little hope left for a cure," she said bluntly in a recent podcast. "The palace isn't lying, but they're not telling the whole truth either." Her words instantly sparked waves of debate across royal circles. Lady Colin, who has deep connections within the aristocracy, made a statement that stunned the public. King Charles is struggling with a level of stress that doctors have begun to consider dangerous. According to her, the combination of pressure from the public, declining health, and heavy political responsibilities is pushing the king to the brink. "The king is still trying to hold on," she said, "but we all need to prepare for what's coming." In just moments, clips of her statements flooded social media. Some criticized her for spreading unnecessary fear, but many others said she was simply voicing what they had long sensed. As a result, the public began watching every sign more closely: how Charles looked gaunt in his recent appearances, how he fumbled with papers or paused longer than usual during speeches. "He's exhausted," admitted a longtime palace staffer. "He won't stop, keeps trying to work, but you can clearly see in his eyes he's weakening." Usually whispers like these would be dismissed. But when Lady Colin speaks out, everything changes. Because if what she says is true, the king isn't just battling illness, he's racing against time. The crown on his head, the clock is ticking. Charles waited over 7 decades to wear the crown. His entire life has been preparation, observation, and waiting. Yet now, just months after his coronation, he faces a disease that no title can protect him from. He's doing everything he can, a close source shared. But he knows clearly time is no longer on his side. King Charles is striving to fulfill as many constitutional duties as possible, private meetings with Parliament discussions about the future of the Commonwealth, and even preliminary talks on internal reforms. But things are getting increasingly difficult. A highly anticipated state visit to Italy, meant to be a powerful milestone in his reign, has now been postponed indefinitely. Doctors have advised him to avoid long-distance travel, yet Charles is reluctant to cancel. For him, every choice now is a trade-off between duty and health, between legacy and survival. He doesn't want to be remembered just for his illness, an insider revealed, but he keenly feels that time is running out. Inside the palace, whispers are growing louder. Could this be one of the shortest reigns in modern royal history? King Charles has yet to announce abdication, but with each passing day, the pressure intensifies. And the one facing the toughest position is Prince William, the son, the heir, standing in the enormous shadow of his father. William never wished for things to unfold this way. He remains heartbroken over his father's health, but is quietly preparing to step into the role destiny has assigned him. It's bitter and sweet, a close family friend shared. No one is ready, but William knows the time has come. William has always been proud of his father, but he never imagined this moment would come so quickly. Behind the scenes, he is being brought into private meetings where every sensitive detail is shared. Every protocol, every strategic decision, national emergency plans, all are being communicated to William. And while he tries to stay strong, his wife, Catherine, the Duchess, is facing her own health challenges. The pressure is mounting heavy and relentless. This moment is truly harsh. "He is giving it his all," said an aide inside the palace. "But you can clearly feel the weight pressing down on his shoulders. It's the pain of loss and the sacred duty all at once." William's public presence is no longer what it used to be. The way he speaks, the way he stands now, more like a true head of state. He often appears alone, and every word, every action is scrutinized closely, as if people are trying to read the future through him. He is no longer just the heir, a commentator bluntly stated. He's acting like a true king. But while William is gradually stepping into the spotlight, the rest of the royal family continues to wrestle with silent pain. Because illness is not a battle fought by one alone, it's a harsh test for all those loved ones nearby. And then, amid the chaos, an unexpected move happened. A letter was sent to Prince Harry. A family divided by misunderstandings and distance now faces the tragedy of loss. In a moment of silence behind the heavy doors of the palace, King Charles made a decision that stunned even his closest confidants. He requested a letter be sent to Prince Harry. Before it's too late, he is said to have said, "Let there be peace." Those 5 simple words carry more weight than any political statement. They are the whispered plea of a father who does not want to leave this world with a heavy heart. According to sources, the letter was handwritten, unedited, and without input from media advisors. It was simple, raw, and deeply emotional. He wanted Harry to know that he has always been his son. A palace insider revealed. Not a prince, not a political issue, just simply his son. This decision surprised many within the royal circle. Throughout, the rift between William and Harry, Charles had largely kept his distance. But now, facing an irreversible reality, he no longer wants to remain silent. He knows clearly, if not him, then who can mend the rift, the insider added. If not now, then when? As for Harry, will he respond? Will he return? The answer remains unknown. But the seed has been planted, and sometimes in the final moments, the impossible becomes possible. Behind closed doors, quiet conversations are taking place. No cameras, no titles, no ceremonies, just people within a family. And it's precisely these small gestures that could become a turning point for the entire monarchy, not through political decisions, but through deeply human moments. Because sometimes it's loss or the threat of loss that can bring a fractured family back together. As the royal family endures its most profound emotional trial, the world watches every step, every sign, and not everyone believes they're hearing the full truth. The public's reaction paints a complex and colorful picture. Alongside genuine sympathy lies a simmering doubt. As news of King Charles's health began to spread, a wave of emotions swept across England. Some people were moved to tears. "He has endured so much," said a woman in Cardiff during a BBC Street interview. "At last, we have a king. And now, we might lose him." On social media, thousands of messages of support, shared memories, and tributes poured in. People honored his environmental legacy, shared childhood photos of the Prince of Wales, and posted widely circulated images from his youth, accompanied by hashtags like "King Charles Farewell" and "Hold on Your Majesty." However, there were other voices too. The prolonged silence from the palace fueled widespread skepticism. A royal blogger wrote, "Why are we hearing news from insiders rather than directly from the royal family?" Discussions erupted across forums. Some believed the reality was more serious than what was being publicly disclosed. Others thought the king was no longer handling daily affairs, and the palace was deliberately extending the silence. Even media outlets that had traditionally respected the royals' privacy began to question. A headline caught attention. "What does the palace know that we don't?" The silence has become uncomfortable, shared a political analyst. The British public doesn't like being kept in the dark. Yet the affection for the king remains deeply strong. "No one wants this to be the end," wrote one person. "Not now. Not like this." But as time passes and Charles's absence grows more apparent, public attention begins to shift. They no longer just watch the king gradually stepping back, but also look toward those stepping forward, ready to carry on his legacy. And that leads to a new question. Where is Camilla? Her calm demeanor and frequent public appearances have sparked much curiosity among the public. While King Charles fights his illness behind the palace's closed doors, Queen Camilla continues to be seen smiling at charity events, attending dinners, and even appearing alone at important formal ceremonies. Many wonder why she is out there by herself while her husband struggles with his health. Some see it as a sign of strength, an image of resilience, a queen holding the fortress steady as her husband recovers. She keeps going because she still has responsibilities to fulfill, a close friend of Camilla revealed. But many people wonder, why isn't she by his side? A royal watcher on social media expressed, "If the king is so ill that he has to cancel everything, then what is the queen doing out there?" This isn't the first time they've appeared separately in public. From her time as Duchess to Charles's accession, they have maintained independent roles. However, this time, that distance is making the public increasingly concerned. She's not cold-hearted, just very practical, a former palace staff member shared. She understands that the public image must be maintained. But everyone knows that behind that smile, Camilla is deeply worried. She doesn't want to show that to everyone. And according to a close source, Camilla is not just standing aside for show, she is quietly preparing. She is involved in organizing the transfer of power behind the scenes, supporting William as he takes on more and more responsibilities. She keeps the palace machinery running smoothly, protecting the king from unnecessary stress. Some believe that Camilla is the backbone, the pillar holding the royal family together amid the storm of media scrutiny. But alongside the praise, there are still doubts. Is her calmness a sign that the situation is far more tense than we've been told? The public began asking deeper questions not only about Camilla, but also about how much pressure the entire palace is facing. While people continue to watch Camilla closely, another issue thought to have settled suddenly reignites controversy surrounding religion. It all started with a short video. King Charles appeared live, sending Ramadan greetings to the global Muslim community. Naturally, this was a gesture of religious harmony reflecting diversity and a modern vision. But on social media forums, a fierce backlash campaign quickly spread. One side united in opposition, accusing him of favoring other religions rather than fulfilling his long-held role as defender of the faith of the Church of England. He has forgotten who he represents, a sharp political commentator declared. However, the response argued that precisely because he embraces an interfaith vision and is vigilant against prejudice, Charles remains committed to maintaining this broader inclusive image. Royal historians analyze this as part of a strategy to modernize the monarchy, bringing the British royal family closer to a globalized world rich in religious and cultural diversity. However, not everyone has welcomed this change positively. As King Charles's vision of a modern multicultural monarchy begins to take clearer shape, a segment of the public, and even some within the inner circle, have voiced strong opposition. For them, this is not simply a gesture of communication or an interfaith message. They see it as a sign of decline, an action turning away from tradition. However, this controversy erupted at the worst possible moment. As the king's health is declining, another storm, this time a spiritual one, is brewing. The crown is becoming fragile, a political analyst remarked. The division among the people is growing increasingly apparent, and that is something any monarchy fears, because when faith wavers, the throne wobbles too. But this is no longer just about a speech or a congratulatory video. It's about legacy. Charles's legacy, a king who always wanted to bring fresh winds to the monarchy, aiming to usher the institution into the 21st century. However, if his reign ends too soon, will that vision have enough time to take root, or will it fade into oblivion like an unfinished idea? If you found this story fascinating and want to learn more, don't forget to share the video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our exciting videos. Now, let's continue the story together. And now that possibility, the prospect of a short reign, can no longer be ignored. The latest health reports from insider sources reveal that the king's condition has taken a darker turn. According to close doctors, his illness is progressing faster than expected. Early symptoms such as swollen fingers, prolonged fatigue, and occasional lapses in concentration were once considered insignificant. But now there's nothing subtle about it. Every sign is clear, and they are worrying. He's always tired, a palace staff member shared. He keeps pushing forward, still working every day, but you can see he's in pain. Charles refuses to stop. Meetings with the cabinet and parliament continue behind closed doors. Documents are still signed, papers are still reviewed. But his public appearances tell a different story, each one growing less certain, more fragile. He doesn't want to fade away quietly, a royal insider said. He wants people to remember this final effort, his dedication until the very end. And so every time the king appears, whether it's a greeting, a handshake, or a glance, it becomes a moment that makes the public ask, could this be the last time? Is he quietly saying goodbye? Some believe he is counting every remaining chance just to complete a few symbolic moments, a speech before the Commonwealth, a summer garden party, or a gesture of spiritual transition. He won't go quietly, a former royal aide asserts. Charles is a fighter, but no matter how strong the body, there are limits. And now even royal observers are shifting their tone. Words like a matter of national concern have started to surface on national television. The BBC is reportedly preparing obituary content in advance, a move usually reserved for when the gravest situation is imminent. Meanwhile, palace aides are said to be holding emergency meetings preparing for every possible scenario. And the United Kingdom, with all its history and tradition, is preparing for something that many are still not truly ready to face. For just over a year ago, they had to say goodbye to Queen Elizabeth, the longest reigning and beloved monarch in British history. Now the nation stands on the brink of preparing for another farewell, one that could be even more painful and profound. A nation still in mourning, a crown still hanging heavy over many hearts. The United Kingdom cannot forget the aching sorrow when Queen Elizabeth took her final breath. Silence falling like a heavy rain, tears quietly streaming down the faces of its people, and black ribbons tied around city gates as a last farewell. It was not merely the end of an era. It was the closing of a brilliant chapter in history, a reign that many were still unwilling to let go. And now, just over a year later, the entire country is once again bracing itself to face that pain. "We never truly ended the pain of losing her, a Londoner confessed live on the radio, and now we have to prepare to start all over again. For many, the thought of losing another monarch so soon, so suddenly feels like a burden too heavy to bear. The nation's overall mood has shifted. Even the usually bright and upbeat morning shows have grown somber and slow. A royal historian remarked, "Charles waited his entire life to become king, but it seems fate only gave him a chapter, not the whole book." People are struggling to adjust their emotions. The ink on the new banknotes is still wet, the mailboxes in the palace still bear Elizabeth's mark, and now they must face change that is too fast, too sudden. In small towns, prayer gatherings and candlelight vigils began to emerge. People spontaneously placed flowers outside royal residences without any prompting. Some couldn't even explain why they did it, only feeling that something monumental, another era, was coming to an end. A woman whispered near Windsor, "We sense the fragility not just of the monarchy, but of the entire nation." As the public prepared to face the inevitable, a quiet fear rose. Would Charles be remembered for what he tried to achieve, or just as a man defeated by illness before he could realize his grand ambitions? King Charles did not want to become a replica of his late mother. Rather, he aspired to be a new kind of monarch, one who cared more about practical actions than mere appearances. He was someone who showed deep concern for environmental issues, social diversity, and modern values. "I want the crown to serve the times, not be trapped by them," he once said. As the Prince of Wales, Charles spent decades championing causes that have become more important than ever today: climate change, organic farming, sustainable architecture, and racial inclusion. Back then, many laughed at his ideas, but now no one does anymore. But when he ascended the throne, his plans for reform and modernization had yet to take off. Projects aimed at changing outdated royal customs and efforts to simplify the role of the monarchy mostly remained unfinished drafts. He wanted to prove that the monarchy could evolve, that it could adapt to the new era. Yet illness took away the runway he needed to take flight. Inside the palace, silent disputes are also unfolding. There are disagreements over vision delays and even rumors that not all senior members of the royal family support his modern approach. Now, as his health deteriorates, many are asking, what will remain after he is gone? Will he be remembered for the changes he once initiated, or merely as a man who never had the chance to complete his mission? A journalist bluntly stated, "The tragedy is not just losing a king, but losing a king who never truly became the person he longed to be." And while the United Kingdom watches every step and challenge he faces, The rest of the world is not looking away. This is not merely a crisis for England, but a global transformation. Some countries, especially members of the Commonwealth, have already begun preparing for possible changes as the image of the king, the unifying symbol of the bloc, becomes more faded than ever before. But now, as King Charles's health deteriorates, the bonds that hold the Commonwealth together are beginning to show signs of fraying. From former colonies like Australia and Canada to Caribbean nations, quiet yet meaningful discussions have begun. These countries are asking a major question. Should they continue maintaining their ties to the British monarchy, or is it time for a comprehensive shift to completely sever the royal connection? A political analyst in Ottawa commented that King Charles's reign was once expected to strengthen the cohesion within the Commonwealth, an organization of former British colonies sharing common traditions and values. However, contrary to those expectations, the weakening health and influence of the king may become a turning point, leading to the disintegration of the Commonwealth, leaving the organization facing an uncertain future. In Barbados, which officially abolished the British monarchy and became a republic in 2021, leaders have made sharp remarks reflecting a profound shift in relations with the United Kingdom. They have not hesitated to criticize what they see as an outdated institution no longer suited to the modern era. Other countries in the region are also beginning to openly question the purpose of maintaining a monarch they rarely have the chance to meet, and who may not remain for long. The affection for Queen Elizabeth remains respect, love, and deep mourning, but with Charles, everything is different. A Jamaican minister frankly shared, "We're curious about Prince William, but with Charles, there's no connection at all. His illness, tragic as it is, only fuels further conversations about the future of the monarchy in countries where anti-monarchy sentiments have been growing stronger." Analysts note that the longer Charles remains on the throne without showing renewed vitality, the harder it will be to convince these nations to continue their ties to the monarchy. Even within the United Kingdom itself, similar questions are being raised. Does the monarchy still hold its global stature and command respect in the hearts of the people? What does it still represent to the British people today, and who will be the one to restore trust and reverence? All eyes are now on Prince William, the eldest son, seen as a symbol of renewal and the hope for a new era. But can William bear this heavy responsibility while he is going through profound personal struggles? Prince William always knew this day would come, a close aide at Kensington Palace revealed, but he never expected it to arrive under these circumstances. Not while his father is ill, not while his wife is recovering from health challenges, and certainly not while he is raising young children under the pressure of an uncertain future. This is not a timeline anyone in the royal family wanted or planned for. Nevertheless, William is now forced to step into the spotlight because he has no other choice. He receives daily briefings on important royal matters and is gradually taking on the duties, meetings, and events that his father has postponed. Behind the scenes, William is quietly preparing for the inevitable, the mission to lead and protect the monarchy during this challenging time. He is grieving, but he is also learning very quickly, a close family friend shared. The public is watching his every move closely, every speech, every appearance, every interaction, and they no longer see an ordinary prince, but a man carrying a heavy responsibility. They don't just see a prince preparing to ascend the throne. They are witnessing a future king growing stronger every day under relentless pressure from the times. Prince William is not simply the heir to the crown. He is being tested in real time with all eyes on him during the most challenging moments. A royal expert once said, "William is being tested like never before." But the journey hasn't been easy. He's striving to balance the lofty duties of royalty with deep personal pain, loss, anxiety, and the heavy burden of an uncertain future weighing on his shoulders. In recent appearances, William has been seen with a more serious gaze, a somber expression, yet stronger and more determined than ever. A close source revealed, he doesn't want to become king under his father's illness, but he knows he has to be ready at any moment. The pressure is mounting, and in the minds of the British people, one question remains: how will this storm end? As the days go by and the silence grows heavier, the country waits, the family hopes, and the crown sits quietly yet uncertain about who will carry this sacred responsibility forward. Will King Charles abdicate before his health completely fails? In the palace corridors, that conversation has already begun. Senior advisors have secretly outlined contingency plans, carefully reviewing the necessary legal frameworks. A smooth transition plan is being drafted to ensure stability and order for the monarchy. One insider whispered he may not officially abdicate, but the handover process could start without any formal announcement. However, others believe King Charles will hold on to the throne until the very end, because for him, stepping down would be nothing less than a defeat, a surrender to a fate he has waited his whole life to fulfill. Meanwhile, Prince William is ready to step into his new role, the heir with the heaviest responsibilities. Camilla, the Queen Consort, continues her duties with calmness and dedication. Prince Harry William's younger brother is said to be waiting for a final call that could be decisive in healing or easing the long-standing royal wounds. A close aide revealed the king wants peace before it's over. Whether he achieves that remains a big question. This reign, though brief and tumultuous, will be remembered not just because of an illness or a health condition. People will remember how it ended, the unsaid words, apologies coming too late, and the complex relationship still unresolved. As England prepares to turn a new page in its history, there is a painful and undeniable truth: the crown now feels heavier than ever. And soon, someone will place it upon their head, someone who will continue walking the path of history, yet face unprecedented challenges. The farewell has begun. The world holds its breath, watching every moment unfold. The crown remains on His Majesty's head, but it seems to be slipping away. With each passing day, King Charles's silence echoes louder than words. This farewell not only marks the end of a reign, but could also redefine the monarchy forever, an ancient symbol standing at a crossroads of history caught between past and future tradition and modernity. If you found this video insightful about the changes in the British royal family and the future of the monarchy, don't forget to like and support us. Please share this video with your friends and family so we can follow this historic story unfolding together. And if you want to receive more in-depth analyses and the latest updates on important global events, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell right now. Thanks for joining us.